If you run an agency and you're trying to sign clients, then this video is going to be for you. I've recorded and compiled 4 hours worth of videos, me talking about recruitment agencies and business development. This is what I've done for the last 2.5 years for recruitment agencies, helping them with business development. So if you're curious how you can increase your front end acquisition, acquire more clients as a recruitment agency, then you're going to want to watch this video all the way through. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments. I'll be here to help. Just so you know, I run a company called Acquired. We help recruitment agencies with their business development and client acquisition. We're currently running an offer where you can trial us week to week before you commit to lengthy long-term contracts, which is probably what most lead gen agencies will get you into. That being said, let's get straight into the video. There's 4 hours worth of content to get through, so there's a lot to get through. I hope you find this video valuable, and if you are curious about how you can increase your business development, feel free to book a call with us below. Let's get straight into it.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's great to meet all you guys. What I'll do today is I'll just basically share my screen, go over a short presentation. Feel free to chip in at any point, right? It could be very informal, but really what I want everyone to leave this session from today was at least a few tools that you can use, or maybe a framework. I've even got a Google Sheet with some AI integrations that I can share with everyone, basically to create AI personalized emails at scale, all sorts of tools. But I basically just want to share some wisdom, hopefully, of the things that I've learned over the time I've been doing this. And hopefully you can incorporate it into your recruiting process as well, or business development process. So without further ado, I get my screen shared, and just let me know if you are able to see this. Is that coming up now?
Yep.
Perfect. Fantastic. So this one, of course, is email marketing, which is sort of our speciality, but with a bit of a twist on AI as well. I know it's a very hot topic and there's so much flying about AI, whether it's a good tool to use or not so good in the recruiting process, but there's some interesting things we started to do with our campaigns that have been very fruitful using AI. So I just want to basically shed some light on that and share that with you guys. So just to start, it's a bit of a stat that I've seen, and it's 99% of Fortune 500 companies now use AI in their recruitment process. This is a stat that I came across on LinkedIn not long ago, and it compares to apparently only 35% of recruitment companies actually currently incorporate AI. So there seems to be a bit of a gap between the Fortune 500s and just, standard recruiting companies with their use of AI. I think the recruitment market potentially is a late adopter to AI because of the reliance on personal relationships, which is very important, everything being networking based, and somewhat of a lack of development and innovation. So I think there's a key opportunity in the recruitment market to start leveraging automation AI to stand out above your competition, right? The opportunities here really to save time, save costs, work on higher leverage activities. So actually speaking to clients, speaking to, potential candidates, or just networking in general, rather than having to do the day-to-day admin tasks, and actually to use a smaller team. Something that I think some business owners potentially struggle with when they're growing the team is just the management of the team itself, especially if nowadays people are incorporating virtual assistants. Sometimes it can be hard to keep track of all, where now AI can actually do a job of virtual assistants just as well, but for a fraction of the cost. So these are some of the benefits. But contrary to some people's belief, I don't think AI is here to take recruiters' jobs at all. I think every recruiter has a unique skill set. It'll be very, very hard to replicate for a lot of roles. So I think I don't think AI is here to take anyone's jobs. That's just my opinion. I think we can use it to enhance what we do. So some obviously key things that recruiters can do to use AI today. The one that we specialize in is business development, but you can also use it for candidate sourcing. And then something that I think is really important now is just online presence and marketing in general. There's loads of AI tools that can help you create posts very easily, help you basically repurpose and reformat video posts if you're doing videos for candidates or clients as well, like podcasts, things like that. But ultimately, what it boils down to and what I'm going to share today is sort of the business development aspect of that. Because business development, sort of candidate sourcing can be the same as sales, effectively a bit of a numbers game. So how can we maximize the numbers that we're doing on our business development and maximize the conversions of these numbers with minimal effort, right? Once again, we don't want to have to manage a massive team or do all of this ourselves, because we want to be this person here sitting on the beach drinking a cocktail. That's the end goal, right? That's what we want, and AI will help us do that. So business development AI campaigns. A lot of it does come down to, as I mentioned, pumping in big numbers, right? We still want to be targeted and relevant with the outreach you're doing, but AI helps you speed this process up very quickly, and allows you to get in front of a lot more people. Because honestly, from what I've noticed working with a lot of recruiters and a lot of B2B businesses in general, a lot of people's businesses would grow if just simply more people knew about them. And I'm sure that's probably how you might feel. You just need to generally be in front of more people to grow your business. Advertising is very expensive, however, to achieve that. Content can take a very, very long time to take off the ground. So that's why I think that sort of outbound and email marketing and using AI for that can really help you. You can just get in front of hundreds of people on a daily basis that are your dream customers. It's very hard to achieve that otherwise, and especially doing it by yourself. So I won't bore you with all the technical stuff just yet. I'll probably get onto that in a little bit, but this is effectively an infrastructure that we've built for our business. It comprises of email and LinkedIn, and the infrastructure is sending out anywhere from 300 to 1,000 emails a day, 50 points of contact on LinkedIn per account, which can be scaled to multiple accounts.
Harry, can you expand the slides to
yes, I should be able to.
The other view.
Okay, the view. Yeah, my apologies. Is that better now? Can you see that?
Yeah, it's better.
My apologies. Cool, perfect. So, of course, yeah, part of it is just the infrastructure. So this is sort of like the engine behind everything. And right now, the engine might just be you. It might be a couple of VAs. It might be a big SDR team, or it might be AI itself. But what we've found is that to have AI and automation as the infrastructure makes everything a lot easier, right? You can have an infrastructure that will be sending hundreds of emails a day, multiple LinkedIn messages, completely on autopilot. And that's sort of the first step, right? That won't get you to a very, very successful business development campaign, but the other bits that we've discussed, but that is the first sort of step, not having you to do all the manual outreach yourself. We want the infrastructure to do that. So from there, once we have that in place, it's really important to split test and find out what the winning campaign is for your audience, what resonates with them the most, what sort of things we can say to get responses. And I'll go into that in terms of script writing in a little bit. But a lot of it is trying different things and getting insights on basically directions of markets through back-to-back testing so many different things and letting data inform our decisions, right? As soon as we get responses as well, we want to have appointment setters that can kick in, arrange meetings, and then book calls, and then go through basically a post-booking workflow as well, which has helped close rates on calls for our clients, as well as potentially getting larger deals and more retained deals. So when someone books a call, if we're able to direct them to material and content about, if you're trying to sell a retained service, why retained is actually cheaper for clients than contingent, the cost of a bad hire, what it actually means for them, you can basically nurture them with all of this content before they join a call with you. So then the seed's already planted in their mind. Because what a lot of people do will just book the call, and once the call's booked, that's it. You just leave it until you join the call. But it gives you a window of time, even if it's a few days, to just get as much content, as much material in front of that person as possible to basically pre-frame the call. That's what we've seen made a big difference to conversions on calls that we take. So basically, to see how powerful email and AI can be, we want to basically break business development down to its core very, very simplistically. I know there'll be a lot more that goes into business development than just this, but the way that we see it is, of course, we can find open jobs. That's one of the things that business development people will be doing on a day-to-day basis, finding contact information, actually sending messages, emails, and doing calls, and of course, consistent follow-ups. So we're seeing how automation AI can help us do each of these things. So I'll get into something a little bit more substantial now, something I can actually show you, and tools that you can use. And these are ones that we use to basically scrape open jobs at high volumes. So say, for example, and this is where I'll ask the audience, so if there's any particular job that you would look for on, say, let's say you're looking on LinkedIn. I basically want to show you a tool, how you can get high volumes of that very, very quickly. So if I go to the chat, someone want to put in a chat a job title that you want me to do a search for, and how I basically get all of that data off LinkedIn in a short time period, basically.
Geotechnical engineer.
Geotechnical engineer.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put VP of sales first, and then I'll do your one after, Tom. But we've got VP of sales, fantastic, right? So this is one of the tools that we use. It's called Appify. There's a few different ones that we can use. Forgive me, that's my spreadsheet. So we've got one called Clay. I'm not sure if people have heard of Clay. It's a very powerful tool. I'll show you that as well. But one that we like to use is appify.com. So what this is actually you can create an account on here for free. It's a free tool. And you can basically rent scrapers that people have custom built. So one that I like to use is called LinkedIn Job Scraper. So basically create a free account on Appify, buy the trial for, or start the trial for LinkedIn Job Scraper. And all you simply need to do is put in the job title that you would put on LinkedIn, put the location, put how many jobs you want to find. The limit, I believe, is 1,000, so I always have it set to 1,000. You can see ones that were published in the last 24 hours, in the last week, past month. I'll leave this open for now. You can also, if you just wanted to see hybrid roles, you could see that as well, and type experience level, all these things. But what I'll do is I'll press start, and we will see that this scraper will start working. Right, so this is basically mimicking exactly the same as if you were to go on LinkedIn and just put VP of sales in that search bar on LinkedIn jobs. All right, so I'll just let this start running. But we can do some really, really good things with this data. I'll go on to that in a second, but I'll just let this start running and I'll see. So you can see already we've got very good data around this job, when it was posted. We even have number of applicants as well, right? And we can just download this as a CSV or a spreadsheet after it's done. So we should be able to get this, very, very quickly. You can see these ones took around 7 minutes or 8 minutes to get 333 contacts, and it cost us about 30 cents. So really, really cheap. Once again, this is on the free trial, so you don't actually have to pay anything. It gives you $5 of usage for free, which is really good. But this will just keep running in the background. Now, hopefully when I show you what we can do with this, it will be a bit more exciting as well. But ultimately, the reason why this is so good is because VAs are pretty cheap, right? They're not very expensive, but ultimately, before the use of all these tools, VAs would be doing this, and it'd probably take them a few hours to build up lists of a few hundred, which it's not a massive cost. But if you can save time and save money using a tool as opposed to VA, that's what we would opt for, right? Appify is just one of these. Clay is another really good one. What Clay can do very successfully is find all of the jobs that have recruiters attached to them. So Appify is doing this as well. So recruiters or hiring managers, whoever the person is, with the open jobs, a percentage of them will have a hiring manager attached to the job, and Appify will pull this data in as well. We'll pull in their LinkedIn profile, but we can do that directly from Clay as well. So if I go into Clay, which I believe has a free trial as well, so you can play around with this if you just want to have a look. But we can do a similar thing. So this is one of my old accounts. So I haven't got any credits on here, but I think I've got a way to actually do this completely for free. So let's have a go. Once again, finding jobs from LinkedIn. So it takes you to this dashboard. I'll just put in VP of sales in here. I'll put in the location as United States. And what I want to do, if you use Clay, is you want to tick this to find all of the jobs that have a recruiter or hiring manager attached to the job. That's just basically going to save you loads of time. Instead of going through the results on Appify and taking out all of the ones that don't have a hiring manager attached, you can just basically toggle on this, and it only gives you the results with a hiring manager attached to the job. So I'll let this continue to run. Let's see how this one's getting.
Is there a reason why we want the hiring manager's name?
Sometimes the reason why we would do that is basically just to upload them to a LinkedIn automation or an email automation. We can, of course, find it based off the job title of the company. So what I mean is sometimes we just want to reach out to the jobs or the hiring manager of that job if they're attached to it on the LinkedIn job. Probably oftentimes you don't want to do that as well. And that's where you would just basically find the person who would be in charge of the role from this company. So we've got a couple options of enriching it, but this is basically the reason why you do this first, just to save time potentially. So you could find all of the roles you've got that do have a hiring manager attached, so you can reach out to them. And then all the ones that don't, you would go and enrich to find a hiring manager or the contacts that you want to speak to at the company. But this can just save a little bit of time, because you can create a column for this recruiter's URL. Let's see if this works. And then say, for example, who's the recruiter on this one? So we've got the partner, the CEO, and CIO here, right? So you can just basically.
So they're not always recruiters. Sometimes they'll be the CEO or the director of sales or whatever.
Most of the time, it will be the person in charge of this position. So the either CEO, founder, owner, if it's like a high level position. Maybe if it's just like an engineer or something like that, it would be an engineering manager or someone above usually the role that we're looking for. So it won't always just pull in like a recruiter. And to be honest, we don't want to be pulling in. We don't want to be speaking to other recruiters a lot of the time. We want to be speaking to key decision makers. So that's why sometimes you just want to vet this list. But oftentimes it does pull in the key contact that we want to speak to. This person, not so much. So sometimes it will be 50-50, but the best way to do it, if you know you want to speak to the key decision maker, as we probably do, would just be from this list that we've pulled from Clay or Apify. Without ticking the recruiter bit, we could just basically put this list into another enrichment tool to find who the relevant contacts would be. You can do that in Clay. So I don't actually have any credits in this account, but say, for example, you wanted to find who the right contact would be. Say we want to reach out to the CEO at this company. You would basically add an enrichment in Clay that would allow you to find who the CEO is. So it's got loads of enrichments. This is basically just adding more data. So I would go find contacts at companies. So what this does is when I press play on it, say for example, it's a new table, it will, oh, my apologies. It will basically find the person based off the job title that we put in. So let's just save in this table. It's great. So company identifier. So this is the company domain. So it will research based off the company domain who it thinks the CEO is, because that's the job title we're looking for. So it's going to search this company, find the CEO. We can also go super targeted with it. You could put other job titles in. You can put, say you only want to find a manager that's been at the company for 5 years. You can do that as well. Put all of these fields in. There's a lot of stuff that you can play with here. And you can limit your results. So say you only want to reach out to 2 people at each company, you can limit it to 2, and then you just continue, and you could pull their name. Let's see what other data we've got, their location, their LinkedIn URL, date of birth. Sometimes I'm not sure it'll pull it for every single one. Loads of data on them, and you'd just save that, and that would start running in this table as well. I think
Harry, Dan asked if you can use Apify and Clay together.
You can use them together. A cheap alternative for you. So I'm going to show you. You can absolutely do that. And what you do is okay. So this one's done. So we've got 305 results that I can export as a CSV. So what you do is you'd export your results from Apify. So let me just download this, and I'll show you what the results look like. I'll just call it Apify data set. And then you could basically upload this into Clay. So say I just wanted to create a new table in Clay. And let's say I wanted to import these companies. So I'd import companies, browse this file, upload this, and it would basically pull it into Clay. And then you could do you could do that enrichment I just shown you, find the contact at the company, and you could do that, and that would help you obviously build out that list, and Clay would help you do that. So yeah, you can get them to speak to each other. There may be actually, no, in fact, there is an automation where you can start scraping on Apify and automatically push it into Clay using Zapier. We used to do that. So that's more of a custom build. I'm happy to show people how to do that in maybe a longer session. But you can absolutely do that. You can get them to speak to each other. So what we've got here, this is the data we just pulled from Apify. You can see we've got how many people have applied to this role, what the company's called, the company URL, the job description, which I can show you some great things with in a minute. Of course, the job URL as well, when it was posted, who posted it, all of this information. All right, of course, the title of the role as well. And then say from here, you wanted to find the CEO of each of these companies. We would just enrich. We would find contact that company, save it in this table, pull in the company URL and type CEO, and then boom, just go on, and it will basically pull the CEO from the LinkedIn page. So this once again mimics something that's previously quite manual. Instead of going to LinkedIn, going on a company page and finding who the CEO is, what we can do is we can use Clay to speed up that process. So instead of going to, let's say, this company, and whilst it's loading, view as a member, instead of going to people and searching through and trying to find who the right person is, doing this, quite manually, you would just put it in Clay, ask who you want to find, so the CEO, and it will give you that data back. So that's what it can be really good for. It can be really good for building lists and building data on that. On a pretty short time scale. Like we've pulled 300 plus job openings, and we could find all of the data on that very, very quickly. Of course, finding contact info, Clay was one of them, but also we've got one called Lead Rocks. So I'm not sure if anyone's heard of Lead Rocks, but the way I
like Lead Rocks,
I like it quite a lot of the time, yeah, because what I'd like to do is get the LinkedIn URLs, and I find it very good for actually personal phone numbers sometimes. But I suppose it's different what you're trying to find. If you're just trying to find emails, it's probably not the best tool. But if you're trying to find other data, it can be pretty good. Have you had experience with it before then?
Huff asks, can you do by industry software manufacturing, for example? And I'm assuming he's asking about Clay or Apify.
Yeah, sorry, 1 second. Is there a question in there? Can you do by industry software manufacturing, for example? On Clay,
Huff, are you asking about in the Apify app?
Well, in
you narrow it to industry.
Yes.
Yeah. So in Apify, what you'd want to do is because it can pull such large data sets, you wouldn't be able to put the industry in there. But what you do is, if you upload it into Clay, you would just use sector, and you do a filter on here. Or you could do something called conditional formatting. There's two ways to do this. But what you could do is just filter. So say you just wanted to have a particular sector, say it was manufacturing. So maybe I just put in the keyword manufacturing, then it would just show me all of the jobs open in a manufacturing sector. So sector contains the word manufacturing. Right. Then obviously there's different types of manufacturing.
The software instead of manufacturing.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So then we've got software development, IT services, and IT consulting. So sometimes it will pull in multiple. But yeah, that's usually the way you do it, is you do it on the sector. You can do it in Clay if you're doing it from Clay originally. But this is how I'd usually do it. It's just I'd narrow it down after I've got the big data set based off the sector. There's also other things you could do, like you could do the filter on the description instead. So if the job description has a word software in there, or has a keyword of software, then you could filter it down based off that. There's two different ways you could target. But yeah, ultimately you could target in Clay. If you don't want to do Clay, then I'll show you this as well. You can put everything into Google Sheets and do it in here. And I'll show you how you can do it for very, very cost effectively, but also create like very personalized emails using just Google Sheets. But I will get onto that in a second.
And Harry, just the reason I asked about Lead Rocks is Lead Rocks has been on AppSumo forever, and it's $79 for 5,000 credits, but the reviews are 50-50 in my opinion, and that's why I was asking you if you thought it worked, because a lot of us use SalesQL, Apollo, Lusher, whatever, but for $79, I mean, and one-time payment for 5,000 a month, why not? So you're getting good results from it.
I am, yeah. For the numbers, it's pretty good. I think overall, maybe sales QR is a slightly higher percentage, but just from a cost standpoint, it's extremely cost effective. I think I paid for about 4 codes worth, so maybe what's that, $200 and something in total, and I get
Right
20,000
now it's
credits.
316 for 4 codes, and if you stack them,
Yeah.
you get what, 50,000 leads a month and 50,000 verifications. So I guess you're right.
It's forever, you know. So it's absolutely crazy. It's really, really powerful. But ultimately, the best, you know, if you're just maximizing for conversions, looking at other tools is going to help as well. A mixture of all of them is always going to be the best, and that's actually what Clay does. It has a built-in sort of built-in thing called waterfall enrichment. So say, for example, we want to find the email address of a particular contact. You would go in and you just type in work email. Now, what this does is it has access to all of the databases, right? So first, you can add other providers as well, like Apollo, Snovio. So if this really is really successful for finding hard to find email addresses. So everyone's targeting Apollo leads. Everyone. So if you're just using Apollo to build your data, it can be sort of difficult. But if you're using something like Clay, which of course is a little bit more expensive, but you'll basically find it much easier to get emails that no one else has access to. Because what it will do is it will first search Prospeo, do a full scrape of their database. If it can't find it, then it will go on to drop contacts. If it can't find it there, then it will go on to this tool. If it can't find it there, and so on, right?
Do you have to pay for all these tools, or is that included in Clay?
That's included in Clay. It's cheaper to pay for each of the tools. Clay can be expensive. But yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to pay for all the tools.
And have you used Zoom Info to bring in information? I've got Talent OS, so it's only like 1,000 to spreadsheets, but
yeah, yes. So Zoom Info, I found Zoom Info really good for mobile numbers. Actually, I thought that was one thing that it was useful for. But ultimately, any database you have, as long as you can export something as a CSV, you can import it into another one, like Clay or like Google Sheets, right? So it's very seamless having that integration, which is nice. But yeah, that waterfall enrichment is something that's very cool. So that's one of the bits of data. I'm very happy to continue. Just, you know, we can go off topic if things pop up that seem interesting. Let's just dive into it. So that's a little bit on finding contact info and finding job openings. Okay, so we clearly see we've got capability to find a lot of data. Say you just spent half a day doing this, or just a morning doing this 1 day a week. You could build up lists of thousands of prospects. So now we've got all of them. It's all about, you know, how can we maximize the engine to actually reach out to all of them? This is where something that's sped up our process for business development significantly is just a multi-account strategy. So whether it's multi-inbox through email, we typically hook up anywhere from 20 to 30 accounts for each of our clients on email. Or if it's a multi LinkedIn account strategy, just having multiple accounts allows you to safely send out a high volume of outreach, effectively bypassing limits. It's not really bypassing any limits, but you're just sending it from more accounts. Okay, and it's the only difficult thing here is the setup, the technical setup. So for email, I'll go into I don't usually do this, but I'll go into our actual platform that we use and see how many email accounts we've got hooked up currently and how many we've got sending, all from one place as well. We can all manage this within one inbox. So this is across clients. We've got over 1,000. So we're managing over 1,000 inboxes currently. So that's 1,000 email accounts. And that's made very easy to do with tools like Smart Lead. Of course, it would be absolutely crazy. You wouldn't need to set up as many as 1,000, but setting up 20 can be really good because you can be sent 30 emails account per domain, or per 30 emails out per account. So times by 20, you can be sending 600 a day consistently, you know, at a safe volume. So that's why a multi-inbox strategy is really important, which I'm sure.
Well, one of the things you mentioned, Harry, was you don't like to do like prsearchinc.net, prsearchinc.com, prsearchinc.org. You like to do pr.search.com, prsearch.inc.com. Like you want it to be the same name with like dots in between or dashes in between with a .com. Is that correct?
Yeah, we found it's a very small difference, but I used to be an engineer, so I'm a bit of a data and number nerd. And when we were looking at the data on domains we were testing, we always found a .com domain just performed slightly better. I think it's because main objection we see with cold email stuff and email marketing is people don't trust emails. They think they're getting an email from someone new and it's a spam, it's a scam, it's, all of this stuff. We all, for some reason, I don't know if it's just a psychological thing, people seem to trust a .com email more than just like a .business or a .marketing or something like that. It won't make a night and day difference. It's not a problem. But it's just what we prefer to do, to be honest.
And also, if you're doing that, point every single one of those email address URLs to your true URL. So if someone does copy and paste that URL into Google, it goes to your website and not to some currently parked place.
Exactly. So if I share it again, I'll probably show some email accounts that I'm sending from. So if I just put quiet in here, let's say we've got Harry.L. This one's a bit different. We've got .biz here. So we do other ones as well. It's not always .com. But let's say if someone receives this email and they go, looks like a bit of, not sure about a domain. Let's see the website. Hopefully this will actually redirect to our main website, which it does. And you just have this for every single one. So it effectively makes all of the email accounts that we're sending from look like they're, my actual email account. And that's really important. And it's the same if you're doing this on LinkedIn. You want to use teams LinkedIn accounts, like someone in the team, or if you've got a virtual assistant, just ask to rebrand their LinkedIn, put a different picture on, make it look like it's part of the team. You just want to make everything look seamless and organic to your potential clients and to your prospects.
How do you do the multi-LinkedIn account strategy? Let's say for our we have Tony, Emily, Sage, Jeff, myself, right? So how would you do that? Would I have to have 3 Thomas Alashio accounts, or would I be using Jeff and Anthony's or Tony's?
Yeah, great question. So you'd be using the Teams accounts, and we use a tool called HeyReach. So we used to use Dripify. I'm not sure if people heard Dripify. We're moving over to one called HeyReach because you can manage multiple accounts. This one you can manage loads of accounts, like 50 plus accounts, all from one place. And you can manage the campaign with multiple accounts. So what I mean by that is, say you build up a list of 1,000 prospects or 5,000 prospects that you want to reach out to. And usually what you'd have to do with most LinkedIn automation tools is break the list down or just upload the list into each of the accounts. And you might have some crossover and you would have to manage the inboxes from different places. What you could do with this tool called HeyReach is hook up all of your team's accounts into one place. And every time you have a campaign, you only need to create one campaign and it distributes that between the accounts, if that makes sense. So
yeah, if we don't have Sales
about...
Navigator, then it's 500, or we can do 300 a week. So that times 5, that's 1,500 a week. You could do with 1,500 emails a week. Okay.
Absolutely. So that's why we think LinkedIn is a really, really good strategy at the moment, especially if you're using multiple accounts, because you can use tools like HeyReach, just create one campaign, hook loads of LinkedIn accounts up to it, manage all of the replies from one inbox, and not worry about contacting the same people. So that's why HeyReach is super, super powerful. But Dripify is really good as well as a tool. We've used that before and we didn't have any issues. So, but ultimately, the whole premise of speeding up business development and boosting business development is scaling it sort of horizontally. So building up more of a base, a foundation, which is done by multiple accounts. So that's the main premise of that here. Whether it's email accounts or LinkedIn accounts, more accounts will always be useful to you as you're doing your business development. And of course, consistent follow-up. This is a really basic one. Of course, the automation tools will just help you follow up. There's a very fine line between, and I think this is a topic for discussion as to how many times people think, you should follow up with someone. I'm a believer in not doing such hard follow-ups, but consistently following up people over a long period of time, because I'm sure you get this, when you speak to your prospects, not everyone's in the position to move forward with you or use your service at a given time, but there will be a time when they probably are. and it's just about staying top of mind. So we like to incorporate follow-ups with automation, because otherwise, if you've got it in your CRM or something and you have to do it manually every time, it's going to be very difficult to manage. If you just set up an automated process for constantly staying top of mind for people, even if it once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, just a check-in message, we like to automate those, because it seems like a message that wouldn't really be automated. Not a lot of people would automate that, but it just helps you start more conversations and keep top of mind for people. So that's what you can use these automation tools for as well. So these are a couple of tools that you can use. Of course, Clay, LeadRocks. I've said no need to Zoom Info. You do get very good data off Zoom Info. Smart Lead, Instant Data Scraper. I can show you Instant Data.
Instant Data Scraper. Is that the one that looks like a little Pokemon extension?
It's the little Pokeball, yeah. Yeah,
okay.
It is. I've got a great bit for that. I'll get onto that in a second, actually. But I'll quickly show you Instant Data Scraper if you think this will be useful. What we use, I think I just need to open another Chrome tab. Let me see if I can. So what I like to use Instant Data Scraper for is for Apollo data. You can build big lists of Apollo data without having to purchase the Apollo plan. You can do this completely for free. And we just do this. Yeah, you can. So let's create a bit of a search. Just fire at me some job titles that you want me to build a list for, and then I can show you how we can get this data for free.
Anyone? Maintenance manager.
Maintenance manager. Okay, perfect.
Chief bottle washer.
I'll put maintenance. I'm not sure how many will pop up, so I'll put maintenance manager there for now. I'll put it as states here. Right. I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller. Let's say between companies of 10 and 20 in size. That's great. We've got 1.8k leads. We don't want to spend, even though it's probably only like $50, I still don't want to spend $50 extracting all of this information. So I use my little Pokeball, which is a completely free Chrome extension, and I go here. Now, what this does is it automates a manual process. So as you can see, it's got a thing here called Locate Next Button. I've already configured this. I'm just going to move this out of the way. But basically what you want to do is, if you're using Instant Data Scraper, locate the next button on the tool you're using. This doesn't just work for Apollo. It basically works for any website apart from LinkedIn. I think they've got a little inside deal with LinkedIn. But any website. And you basically you can see I've got a green highlight here on the next button. So it will press it for me, basically, is what this means. So it asks me to locate it. I don't need to, because I've already done it. I've already used it before. But you just locate the next button on any website that you use, and it will press that for you when it realizes it gets to the end of the search results of that page. So if I just go here, this is all the data I'm getting. So I'm, of course, getting this person's name. I'm getting the LinkedIn URL, the company name, all of this other data. And all I need to do is press this lovely button on here on Instant Data Scraper, and I can sit back and relax. And if you look at the Apollo screen, I'm pulling all this data. So you can see I've got
doing that
over 100.
automatically?
Yeah, I'm not pressing anything. So I've got 200 rows of data in 12 seconds, and it's all here. And it will just keep going until it maxes out on Apollo, which is 100 pages. So I can pull 100 pages off Apollo in a couple of minutes.
It's not giving you their contact information though, right, Harry?
Yes, so that's exactly right. And that's why we use LeadRocks for this, because what we would get is you get their LinkedIn URL. If you want to, you can access their mobiles, but you have to do that on more of a manual basis. So what we use this for is we use this to get their LinkedIn URL. That's the only piece of information that I'm interested here. And then we would upload this to another database, whether it's Clay. We use LeadRocks because it's super easy. And it's effectively, basically free as well after you've made that first $79 a month purchase. But you can use other tools for that. Yeah, Clay is another one.
Loxo users, you guys could take this CSV, put it into Loxo, and use your contact scraper in Loxo to get the email and phone numbers.
Harry, when you did the crawl, did you press the locate next button first and then you press the start crawling?
That's what you would do. Once you've already configured it once, you don't need to do it again. So it already had it pre-saved for me, basically.
And to configure it, you just, when you hit locate, you punched the button that said locate next button, and then you clicked on the arrow that's now green. It wasn't green before. And when you clicked on
That's
it,
right.
it turned green, and then that way it knew from now on always to click that button.
Exactly. So as you can
Okay.
see now, I just clicked on that locate next. So if I just click on this one, for example, now it's got the backwards one highlighted. So if I go to here and I start scrolling, I
It
don't
will
know
go
if it
the
will work.
opposite way.
It still go forward for me.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's because it was midway through the crawl. But
Okay.
if you've done that from the beginning, yeah, I think if I abandoned this and started again, it would probably, go backwards. But that's how you'd do it. You just click on that locate next button,
This is
locate it.
amazing that and anyone can use Apollo to do this without paying for anything.
Yeah, exactly. So that's all I've shown you there. That's completely free. The
But it won't
tool,
work with LinkedIn
scraper,
Sales Navigator.
it won't work. Unfortunately not. Unfortunately not. That would be good. There's one called Find Email that will work on LinkedIn. In terms of LinkedIn safety, you don't need to worry about that in terms of your account, because this is just going directly through Apollo. So there's no affiliation with you. You can do this without having a LinkedIn account. There's no affiliation to your LinkedIn account at all. So there's no worries about that. But yeah, I see that as well. Yeah, that's a good. Anywhere you can upload your LinkedIn URLs to is very useful. Sorry.
Harry, do you have an alternative to? I don't think InstaScraper does PDFs, or I don't know if these are PDFs I've got here.
PDFs for what?
I've got a tool that'll give me full org charts, but I can't scrape them with instantly. And I don't know if it's. Anyways, maybe I'll send you a. Maybe
Send me a message. I think
Yeah.
I've got something that could work. It's an AI solution, but I think I've got something that could work. It can scan PDFs and pull data from them.
Yeah, it seems. I don't. This is some sort of a dynamic page that instant data scraper doesn't allow me to do, and I need to automate it. So cool.
There is another one as well called Bardeen.ai. I don't want to overwhelm you with all these tools, but this one's much more comprehensive than Instant Data Scraper. So this one, Bardeen, would probably work on that website. It's just a little bit more complex to set up, and I think it costs around $10 a month. So it's not completely free. But nonetheless, it's a great one a great alternative that you can have a look at. And then, of course, you've got other automations you can use. Zapier, Go High Level are also really good ones. But I know this was one of the questions that I think Huff had about what scripts we can actually use that make a real difference. And this is sort of things that I've noticed running the scripts that we have and what's worked across the board. So you basically, what we've seen to work is you need to stand out and be remembered. If you can give the prospects what they truly want, they'll be more likely to engage. This is like the number one thing that stood out for us. If you can give the prospects what they truly want, they'll be more likely to engage. And that's why, based off my experience, if you have a good most placeable candidate and great most placeable candidate, those campaigns do work. Just because a lot of the time, if the company is in need of someone like that and you're able to potentially give them that person or give them access to that person, then they can convert really highly. So that's really what I've noticed in terms of the business development campaigns. Now, some structures and scripts, I can go into some actual campaigns we're running and show you the insides of those. Before I do that, there's a little bit more on it. Obviously, short and sweet, open-ended to encourage a conversation, and end outcome orientated. So everything, obviously, we want to sell our end outcome, not our process. We don't want to talk necessarily about how we do things, but just what the end result of it is. And oftentimes, if a company really needs someone, marketing a candidate can be very successful. And I'll show you a way which is sort of pushing the boundaries of this as well. If you want to do this, it's just a great way to stand out. But then it ties into different sales approaches as well. It's not something that's recommended for everyone, but it's just an interesting way of looking at it. It's something quite different and quite new. So what we've done in the essence of this to basically create a great most placeable candidate is we found a way that we can integrate this with Google Sheets. So this looks extremely messy, but I can tidy this up. But what I've done is, before this call, I just scraped another search of Appify for, I believe this is, was this finance directors or something? Directors of finance in Canada, right? So this is just straight from Appify, the straight search there. And this is giving me all of this data. So it's giving me the job that's open, number of applicants, but most importantly, it's giving me the job description for every single one. So there's a lot of data in here, very data heavy, but I've got it all in this spreadsheet and every single one has the job description. What I've been playing around, what we're able to do now is actually use GPT in Google Sheets. So you don't need to use Clay to do this. You can integrate it straight with Google Sheets by going to extensions, and it's actually an add-ons. You get a free add-on and it's called GPT for Sheets. So you can integrate ChatGPT into your Google Sheets. Now, what we do here is we want to give, like any AI or any GPT, you want to give it a prompt. This is just a very simplistic prompt that I created before this call. And it says create three very short bullet points summarizing what the perfect candidate would be for this role based off the job description. Only include details about the candidate in concise bullet points, no other info. So basically, I'm asking it to give me what this person is looking for, what the hiring manager is looking for in this job. So here, and this without me reading it. So here, it's obviously looking for a CPA certified with a minimum of 5 years in combined accounting and finance roles, blah, 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 all this stuff. And the beauty of this is you're able to do this at scale. So I can basically I will, 1 second, just copy one of these, go down to here and just pull this down for loads of these. So that's the prompt. And then all we need to do here is basically put this into a GPT function. So equals GPT, highlight this, and hopefully it will pull the 3 bullet points. The reason why you might want to do this, and maybe it takes some cleaning in this Google Sheet, which will take 5 or 10 minutes to clean up, would be you could export this CSV, put it into your email sending software. Maybe I'm sure it would allow you to do custom variables in Loxo or Smartlead or Instantly, and you could have this as a custom variable. So as well as saying, hey, name, and it would pull in the name from the spreadsheet, you could say, hey, name, I saw you're looking for and then pull in the job title, a corporate controller with, and then this is a custom variable with CPA certificate. This is a bit extensive. I'll probably shorten this down with the prompt, but you could list to them exactly what they're looking for. And we can do this at scale because all it would be is taking this GPT prompt, finding it down, and now it's just loading them. So it's creating all these bullet points in the back end. You can see here, okay, it's just loading for some of them. Sometimes we need to refine the script slightly, like the prompt, so it doesn't pull in other information. You can see I have asked it to not pull in other information, but sometimes it will. So we'll just go back and rechange the script. But you can see here we've got strong proficiency in these qualifications, stuff like this. So basically we would just check all of these, make sure they all make sense, and upload this into an email campaign. So every single, maybe it's a CFO we're reaching to, every single CFO gets a different email that's personalized based off the job description, if that makes sense. And you can just do this at super high scale because you can just continue to pull this down in the spreadsheet, and we could do this for every single one, right? I've really only came across this very recently, and we're just rolling it out now. So it's a very powerful tool. Now, I thought, let's go a step further with this. I don't just want to pull this data. I want it to get me to write the full email, completely automated. So what I've got here is an example of a prompt I put in. It says, create a very short bullet pointed summary of what the perfect candidate would be for this role and create an email around how we have that person. Keep it very concise and short, exactly tailored to the job description of this role. And then I've included the job description of the role. And this is an email. Once again, this is a not optimized prompt. I wouldn't push this out, but this is just the first time you're reading it. Dear hiring manager, I hope this obviously we don't want to say I hope this finds you well, but I'm introducing an exceptional candidate for a controller position at company name. And it's got all of the stuff they're looking for in the job description and why this candidate is a perfect match for them, right? And you could just, once again, pull this down for all of the data, get AI to write all of the emails, and get this sent off into your sending software, whether it's Loxo or Smartlead or Instantly or something like that. And that's what we've been able to put together.
We can create a resume that's perfect for that job and put a name on it.
Exactly.
Attention, right?
Exactly. So it's a very good way to get hiring managers' attentions, right? If they're looking for someone and we create the perfect candidate for them with AI and tell them we've got that person, we've just seen it get a lot of responses. So that's one thing that you can do, and you don't have to do Clay. You don't have to use Clay to do that. I think this one with Google Sheets. The reason I've done it in Google Sheets because it's so much cheaper. Let's see. I think I put like $20 in, and I probably ran 1,000 lines through this, and it's cost me. Let's see how much. Let's see how much budget I've got left.
And you're using their API?
Yes. Yeah. So I'm using my GPT API. Yeah. So just hook it up. So I've got $14 left. So you can see to what decimal it goes down to in the dollars. So it's not very expensive, which is good. You can run a lot through it. But that's something I'd definitely recommend.
Yeah, I found out that running the GPT API is really cheap because I use it with Mano, and it's literally like pennies after you do 1,000 things. It's wild how cheap it is.
Yeah, it's really, really powerful. So it was a great tool for us to use. So ultimately, if you want to use AI to write your scripts and make them super personalized but at scale, that's a great way to do it. Once again, Clay can do a similar sort of thing, just honestly probably 20 to 30 times more expensive. So Google Sheets will be the one for that. That's pretty much everything I had. I've got, of course, this is a little self-promotional slide. If you want to piece it all together, you can either spend hours or a lot of money trying to do it yourself, or work with a growing team in the AI space like ourselves. So I'm happy to answer any questions. That was pretty much
shameless plug.
Little bit.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'd throw it in there, but no, that being said, the main reason why I want to be here is just to provide some value, show stuff that we're able to do, and you're able to replicate as well, just with the right tools and the right, AI and software. So yeah, I'm more than happy if you throw some questions at me. What are the stats on ROI? Great question. Now, this, from what we've experienced, depends massively on some external factors, such as the industry you're targeting, such as the total addressable market. There's all of these different factors. In terms of ROI for these tools, we've been able to close like big multi-six-figure deals for our clients through just cold emails, like the ones that you've seen today. So it can have a very, very, very strong ROI, talking like double-digit ROI. But it really depends, of course, on the level of saturation of markets is what I find to be the key differentiator. Expectations of first leads. Sorry, what does that sort of, in what way do you mean that? Sorry.
How long, but I've talked with companies like this before, and they said expectation could be 2 months before things start rolling, because obviously it's a long-term approach.
Yeah, so once again, I would say the split testing is really important in terms of like just testing different emails, testing different messages to find what works. We've had in the past campaigns where leads have come through in the first few days. It's not going to happen for everyone, but ultimately, if you're sending these amount of emails and this amount of messages, and they're pretty personalized, you will be getting responses back on day one. It's just when the right ones come through. So average timeline will probably be around 10 to 14 days for leads to start coming through for something like this.
Harry, I had a question. Even in using multiple email addresses, have you had any issues with a scenario where, for example, I have several very large clients I work with in the IT and cybersecurity space. I've got 50 to 100 hiring managers at one particular client company. If I'm doing campaigns off even using multiple email addresses, have you had any issues hitting that same company's email servers?
Great question. Now, we actually haven't, because the way that the campaigns are run is similar to the LinkedIn automation tool that I mentioned. We hook all of these accounts up, but they're hooked to one campaign, so one set of leads, and it's shared between these email accounts, meaning you won't be hitting the same person multiple times. And what you'd want to do as well is, if there's specific accounts you definitely don't want to reach out to, then you would add that to what we call like a block list of contacts. So even if, and that would be adding the domain, not their email addresses, because if someone new starts, it's a nightmare. If you forgot someone, it's a nightmare. So you just add the domain, and then anyone at that domain, no contact goes out to them. And that's what we find very useful. And it's a necessity. If you're running at the volume that we run at, you need to include all of these people on your block list, so you're not reaching out to them if you've got pre-existing relationships.
Harry,
Let me ask you a question, please?
Go ahead.
Before I forget. Harry,
Please do.
you did the NPCs, and you did the beautiful write up to one particular. It's specific to a different to a company and a person. Do you do that multiple times, hitting them, or is it just one time to 100 people, or is it the same email a second time around? Do you send it out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or do you change it, or what advice do you have there?
Great question. So we would usually go that for the first email. If we're running that campaign, we'd do that as the first email. We're not just going to email people one time and forget about them, because the likelihood of them converting is very low. But at the same time, we won't just hit them with the same email over and over again. So what will be a mix of both. We will be doing follow-ups, but it'll be a different email. These follow-up emails won't be as heavily AI generated. Thank you, Cal. Appreciate it. They won't be as heavily AI generated and personalized. They'll be more like follow-up emails, maybe with a link to a case study, maybe with a link to a video, something like that. But it's important to have follow-ups. It just won't be the same as the first email.
But that would be with an NPC?
We don't do. What we do is, the way we do follow-ups is we keep it in the same thread of messages. So if we send an email, it will be replying to the first email. So every time they get another notification, they see the first email as well. So they see that NPC every time. We're just bumping it up and then adding a little bit more if we want to in the subsequent follow-up.
The next email might say, hey, did you see this? Do you have an interest? The third one's like, hey, I don't want to bug you, but this is a great guy. He's about to go and
he's just been offered. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What was the tool that you used? What was the tool that you used? Because I'm trying to take notes to write all those customized emails in that spreadsheet.
All that was ChatGPT integrated with Google Sheets. So there's an extension that you can add on to your Google Sheets called it's literally just called OpenAI or OpenGPT or ChatGPT. I can put on exactly what it's called. I can send it to you. But you just add it on as an extension, and then you use a formula. So let me just show you again real quick. So this is the formula.
I know I'm getting a lot of questions about that one. So I take the CSV and I move it into Google Sheets, right?
Exactly, yeah. So you go to File, Import, and you just import the CSV in.
Okay, and then now I got I just scraped an Apollo one. I got 100 people in here, and now I've also enriched it because I got all the emails and everything. Now, how do I do that prompt?
So what you'd want to do is you just want to create a column called prompt. So this is obviously just to set it out. So you want two columns to create, one called prompt and one called GPT. So like you're speaking to ChatGPT, you have to write a message into it. All right, and then press the formulate button. This column is like the formulate button. It's actually doing the work. This one's giving it the information. So in the prompt, we basically want to do equals and then give it a quote. So you want to put this in a quote. So basically just give it text. And this is where you'd put the prompts in. So this is the prompts that I told it to write. So create a very short bullet. And the reason why you need to put it in quotation marks is because you need to add the other cell in there. So this is F2. This is the job description. So if we just put in create a very short bullet point summarizing the perfect candidate without the job description, of course, it has no idea what to write. So you have to write it as a formula. So it pulls in both bits of data. So it pulls in the description and the
what is that after the quotes? Is that an and F2?
Yeah. That's an and, yeah. So and then F2. Oh, F2 is basically just the cell for the job description. So I just highlighted it there.
So you put in the job description for every individual company.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
That from the Clay or the Apify, grab the job description, right?
Yeah, so this is automatically pulled from Apify. There's no manual work done to get the job description.
Okay.
And then all you do is just pull this down. So you can see for this, it's got F2. For this, it's got F3. For this, it's got, F4, F5. So for each GPT, each message, it's personalized to that specific job description for every single one.
How does it know to stick it in there?
So the way that
cell S.
Okay, so this one is nice and simple. we literally just highlight the prompt and we put it into ChatGPT by just putting equals GPT select prompt. And then we do the same for each of them. Really nice and easy. And then this is where it generates the message.
GPT, what is that prompt? GPT equals?
GPT equals, and then select the prompt.
Equals GPT, and then whatever the one right before it. The prompt.
Exactly. Exactly. It can be kind of complicated to get your head around when playing around with it the first time, but after, you know, an hour or two playing around, it'll become quite clear. But yeah, that would be the way to do it.
Okay.
And I don't see many people doing this. It's I think you'll definitely stand out.
And then the what is the Chrome extension that does that? What's that called?
So it's not a Chrome extension, it's an extension in Google Sheets itself.
Okay.
So if I just show you how to do that. So you go into Google Sheets, it's in this bit here called extensions. So it should be next to tools, in between tools and help. And then you want to get an add-on. Get add-on, and then it will just be, you'll type in ChatGPT, and then it will pop up here. And then you just enable the GPT functions.
Wow.
And then you're good to go.
Harry, how did you learn all this stuff, Harry?
Good question.
My head is spinning.
That blew my mind. That one right there blew my mind. That was amazing.
I got a lot of time on my hands.
And since we're related, we're gonna do it for free here.
I just this is stuff that I had no idea.
Hey guys, you gotta keep it to yourself. I know we're broadcasting, but you gotta keep this to yourself because it can be very powerful.
Hey Harry, did you see my question?
Sorry, I didn't. What's about something like Crystal using a personality type and having that would be incredible as well. Incredible. You can change the prompt to whatever you want, right? You can change the prompt to whatever you want to change it to. So in terms of if you want to make it for a specific avatar, off camera, Tom and I were speaking about this before we started the call. You can create a custom avatar, make it speak directly to that person.
Persona for other people.
Persona.
It's called avatar or persona. And you can also put in that prompt that you had in there said write this, but you could also put in that prompt, make it sarcastic, humorous, professional, and no more than 2 sentences. And it'll also add that into, so you can put whatever you want into the prompt to make it write more like you, or to add humor to it, or to sarcasm or whatever. So that prompt can be much longer. It doesn't have to just be write a presentation about this candidate based on this job description. You can add as me being sarcastic, business professional, and humorous.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing you could probably do is tell it to misspell one word.
For me, yeah.
Yeah.
If you tell it to misspell one word, you're thinking you're writing it yourself.
Absolutely. I even with just the way that this is written out, where it's literally referencing the job description, not many people think it's AI written.
I'm actually blown away because that's what happens too often is you can read it and see that it's nice to see that you're in the Baltimore Annapolis area, it's like,
no one's handwriting that. No one's handwriting that.
In every ChatGPT, it always used to say, "Hope you're having a great day. How are you doing?" And so, how do you get rid of that stuff?
I would just ask it explicitly not to say that in the prompts. If I'm going to be honest, like Tom says, if you're going to create a good prompt for this, the prompt will probably be a paragraph or 2 long. It takes a bit of time to develop a really good prompt, but when you can just drag it down. You just give it specific markers. Yeah.
I want to show. We were talking about this off screen. I want to show everybody this.
No, you showed me this last week. Where you can.
So right here in Tom Alascio. Okay, hold on. So in Tom Alascio, I pay for this, right? So if I go to customize ChatGPT right here, never start an email with "I hope this email finds you well. I hope this message reaches you well," or any similar version. Be careful not to overuse the word "that." Only use "that" in a situation where it's absolutely necessary, which won't work. You can add whatever you want. Don't use words synergy, dynamic, bandwidth, or pivot, right? So you can put into this whatever you want in custom instructions. When you use ChatGPT, it will listen to this. You can also put stuff down here, formal, casual, long, short. How do you want to be addressed? Everything. So all this is customizable in here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Getting that prompt right is really key. I think really important.
Harry, have you seen any specific success with campaigns or outreaches that have a certain number of stages and sequences over a period of time, and how many stages, how many sequences? Is there an average or a typical one that you've seen more success with? And I know it depends on the wording, the verbiage.
Yeah, you're right. I do think the wording, the verbiage, and the offer inside the email is more important. But if I was to say one structure that's worked for us, it's a 3 touch point sequence. I know I said it's really good to follow up people consistently long term, and we have different campaigns for that. But if we're just doing like a direct sales campaign, we want to be touching, especially on email, we want to be touch points with people 3 times, about 3 days apart from each, 2 or 3 days apart from each. The reason why you don't want to do more than that on email is because people will just report it as spam. If you've received 10 emails from someone in 2 weeks, you're reporting them as spam. I'd block them, So around 3 touch points right now is what we see to be working the best.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Harry, subject lines that work don't work.
I'm a big believer. I've got a weird methodology around this, and it's very different to everyone else. I think it is. I like to use something that we call like internal camo or internal camouflage. I want to make it look like it's come from someone in the team. I don't want it to look like it's a professional email. I want it to look super informal and just super friendly. So what I would do, maximum 2 words, all lowercase, either just the referencing the job opening. So for that director of finance, I'd just put director of finance role, or basically the most simple thing I could think of, all lowercase, and just give nothing away. As soon as it says our recruitment services or how we can help you or something like that, no one's going to click on it. But if it looks like it's come from someone else internally and it's about something important or our chat or our conversation, they'll open it most of the time. So I don't do anything magic here. I don't even personalize it, to be honest. We just keep it really short, lowercase, and just make it look informal. Make it look like a colleague has sent you an email. Yeah.
Somebody asked, are emojis discouraged because some companies block them?
Personally, yeah, I do. We only do plain text, so we don't include any images or emojis in the emails. Yeah, they can look good, but it's a lot of companies do block them.
Do you do like signature and links in the signature and that type of stuff, or do you want those not there either?
We limit it to 1 link in the signature if you can. It's getting very tough now with the restrictions from Google and stuff. You want to have as minimal links as you can get away with as possible. No links is better, but I would probably put, I think having your LinkedIn link is a very good benefit if you're going to have a link in there. Oftentimes, if you're doing high volume email, you don't want to have your website link because the detection mechanisms on Google and Outlook will recognize that your website link is different to the domain you're sending from and can flag you. So you've got these all things to consider. But yeah, we try and keep the signatures quite basic as well, because if you have a very heavy signature, that will impact your delivery rate as well.
I've always said I took out I used to have like a member of this, member of that with their little logo and stuff. And I end up taking all of that out because I even took out respond to this email info@prsearching.com at the very, very bottom for people if they got the email wrong. I was supposed to say, if you got this email by mistake, respond. I got rid of that because I felt like that was causing issues. I'm a 10/10 on that mail tester still, but every now and then I'll drop down and I'll look at what I'm doing wrong.
No, that's a great tool to use as well. It's really well said. But yeah, basically the simpler you can keep them, the better. Like we just like to try and pack out the emails with, stuff like the personalized elements using AI. That it's just plain text. We don't include anything crazy, any crazy links. It's straight to the point, very direct. And we like to use the personalization in there as opposed to any links or anything like that. So, yeah, very basic for us.
Yeah, I've had a subject line that's worked well before. The subject line that works well is your wife's attorney.
That's one for us to test. Thank you. I appreciate the recommendation.
You mentioned and you mentioned, hold on, let me go. I gotta go get rid of this. And early on you were using where is it? Smart Leads. Is that
Yes.
the software you're using to run all your campaigns through?
It is for email, yeah.
I think when you and I and Kelly were talking, you use spin tax in some of the emails, but if you do what you showed us with Google Sheets, you don't need to do spin tax. Is that correct?
Exactly. You won't need to, because it's completely different. So what they're looking for, Google and Outlook, is this person sending 100 emails a day from different accounts, but do the scripts all look the same? Minus a couple of variables like their name and location and job title, whatever. Do the scripts look like they've just been templated? And if the answer is yes, then you're more likely to go to spam. But with this, we've got like half of the email is completely personalized to that person, completely personalized to the job description. So you wouldn't need to basically put any spin tax in that email. We'd probably still put some small bits of spin tax in there. But as you say, the whole email is just a custom piece of text. So you would not need to worry about, and your deliverability would be much better with a script like this, just because it's so different to, each of them are so different to each other. Which I suppose is another benefit as well.
Yeah, I was looking, I did one with just like 80 some for a candidate, and it was the exact same email to everybody. And I got a decent open rate, but you wonder how many of the bigger companies went to spam because it was the same exact text.
Yeah, what we find is with smaller samples, it's not too much of a significant issue. It's only if we've got a sample size of say 2,000 or 1,000 or even over 500, that's when we start running into a few more issues. That's probably why your open rate is still pretty good. You know, you're probably not targeting hundreds and hundreds or thousands of people. But as you do start to do that, and there will be campaigns where you do want to do it at a much higher scale, that's probably where spin tax and stuff would be much, much more important.
I have an important question. Aren't you late for happy hour over there?
Oh, that's perfect timing. I was actually about to say I've got to shoot off pretty much now, actually. Not for happy hour, believe it or not, but
It's
I do
7:45, right? And where you are?
The clocks actually went back, so it's actually 6:45 at the moment.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we've actually got.
Oh, are you in Edinburgh?
No, I'm actually down south in the UK,
Okay.
a place called Brighton, hour away from London. But yeah, no, thanks for reminding me.
Last question: do you know what Mailgun is?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Does Mailgun work good enough, or do you still need the dual domains?
I haven't been using Mailgun. I think there was just some things when I looked into it, I just didn't feel comfortable. I just didn't want to use it and transition everything over to there. It's something I'm going to test out over the next few weeks, to be honest. So I'll have a look and let you know. But I've heard of it. I just haven't used it too extensively.
So basically, they run it through their server. So you use the same email address, and it just runs through their server. So you don't get flood. I don't know how, but when they get an email, it comes from Thomas at PR Search Inc., but it's going through their server some way. So apparently, it reduces your. Like I said, I'm at 1010. And now, and our firm, actually, I don't do a lot of campaigns, but Melanie was doing 500-600 emails a week, and we still have a very high 1010 rate, and she uses Mailgun. So I was just wondering if you had any experience with it, and is it an alternative to me getting 5 URLs?
I personally would always opt for the more URLs. I know it's more expensive. I would always do that from a safety aspect, because if you're sending from one server, an externally managed server, as soon as that IP or their server starts to go a little bit iffy, it's very, very hard for them to bring that back. Not saying that it will. It may be absolutely fine for the rest of the time. But if it does start to face issues, you'll find that it will go from all of your email sending fine to all of them having issues, none of them sending at all. And it's very one or the other. So I think it's usually a risk you can take, and it's probably not too much of an issue. From a safety aspect, it is better having multiple domains and spreading it across that, though. If it's working for you, I'm a big believer in if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? So if it's already
Well,
working. Just keep doing it.
we don't do near the level you do. That's why I was asking. But okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody? Harry's got to go. Any more questions, real quick, before he goes?
Yeah, I have one. So we've talked about going after new prospects, and what about, I've got a big database of people that know me, but I just don't stay in touch with them frequently enough. What about campaigns related to that and using these tools, messaging? Thoughts on that?
I think that's something that really key to do. We call it database reactivation campaigns. You're going to get better response rates from these. You're going to probably book more calls, book more meetings. They're worth doing. I would do it the same way as we usually do it. You can import lists like these into Clay and actually find open jobs at companies if you want to. Use enrichments in Clay, or you could just create a script to these people. But I would always, if you've got a database, always use it. It's a really valuable asset to use your database. So
hey, it's been a while kind of script.
Yeah, exactly. Just reintroducing connections. They will always perform very well. So it's definitely worth doing.
Anyone else before he goes?
Thank you, Harry.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you, Harry.
Thank you very much. I think you have just given us a ton of information. I hope everyone here looks at Harry's website and checks him out. He's very reasonable. The cost of what he does these for, and one deal is worth the cost of entry with Harry. If he gets one deal for you, one good search, and you make a $25,000 fee, it pays for Harry for the next several years.
I appreciate that, Tom. I
highly recommend.
And Dominic uses him. Dominic uses him.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that, guys. I really appreciate the support. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. And thank you for time. Tom, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to connect to everyone on LinkedIn. If you've got any additional questions, just fire them away. Always happy to help.
Absolutely.
Very
And check out his YouTube channel, guys.
Thanks,
He's got a YouTube channel with a couple dozen videos as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye.
No, that was great, guys.
The one thing I always ask myself is, how do these guys remember all this shit?
So real quick, I'm going to turn off the streaming. I think we got a lot answered, and there's probably going to be some questions we all want to ask that shouldn't be on streaming. Sorry, viewers. So thank you all for joining Recruiter Roundtable Season 2 with Harry Latos, and we will see you not this Friday coming up because that is a Loxo users only meeting, but we will see you the following Friday. So as usual, keep smiling and keep dialing, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Tom, yes.
I can't believe I almost hit start the webinar without hitting record, and I would be so angry at myself. I'd be begging Harry to be like, later on this weekend, let's redo this again, so that way the replays could be up. That's one of my biggest fears constantly for everybody watching is, and especially those watching the replays, is me forgetting to hit the record button. So somebody this is the one talk I wanted to see. And they're like, yeah, Ben's a wingnut. He missed the button. But good morning, everybody. Or I should say good morning for everybody in the US. I know it's uber early for people on the West Coast. I know over in Europe and the UK, is it afternoon time for y'all? Good morning from Canada. Awesome. So here's one of the things I'm super excited about with having Harry share. AI is really changing the game, but here's one of the things that just AI was cool. It was a fancy fad at first, but then you could really see who is really just, okay, ChatGPT wrote that. There was no human touch to that. That just looks bad. And you could just see it now. Harry's going to share exactly what to do with AI while still keeping the human touch. And it's I think going to be one of the things that's going to separate a lot of recruiters from what they're doing now to being able to 5 and 10x themselves. So real quick, before we get going, I will go ahead and actually give me real quick. Awesome. Oh yeah, perfect. Ernie, you are awesome. If you want to connect with other recruiters that are excited about growing in 2025, drop your LinkedIn profile in the chat and let's get going. Harry, all you, buddy.
Awesome. I appreciate the intro, Ben, and great to see everyone. Really appreciate it. By the way, it looks a bit pink in the background. Apologies, I'm not actually in a nightclub or a bar. I'm just I'm in the office at the moment with the logo in the background, so that's why it looks a bit funny. But today, as Ben said, I'm very excited to speak with you about how you can use AI and automation for your recruitment BD campaigns, mainly on the BD side, obviously without losing the human touch. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. But just so you know, if you want to put any questions in at any point, just put it in the chat or put it in the Q&A. We'll do a little Q&A at the end. But if questions pop up, put them in the chat and I can address them there if it's the right time. If not, we'll wait to the end. But I'll go ahead and share my screen. So just let me know if you can see this. Let me see if I can get zoom up. Cool. I mean, I can't actually see the questions, I don't think, the Q&A. So I'm going to hopefully, oh no, I can. I've got it up here. We can see. Perfect. Cool. Glad everyone can see it. So I can get started. Awesome. Looks good. So obviously, how we can use AI and automation to sign more clients, right? So it's going to be mainly around business development, but we can also throw some slight bits around candidate sourcing in there as well, but without losing the human touch, right? So what are the opportunities and also the threats of AI in 2025? It's going to be one of the biggest trends in 2025 is how to actually use AI. So I've spent the last sort of couple of years, 2 years developing this skill. So I want to share with you today what I've learned. Now, what I want to get started with is exactly what Ben said. When a lot of people think about AI, you might be thinking about something like this, right? You might be thinking about a message that looks like this, super generic, super broad, and you can tell it's written by AI. This is honestly still how 90% of the market sees AI and how 90% of the market use AI. They just put something into ChatGPT with a small prompt and they get out something like this and they start to use that for their business development campaigns. That absolutely does not work. And that's why I wanted to make this around how to use AI still with the human touch versus just how to use AI in general. Because anyone could do this. The truth is, the actual use to AI, right, is the barrier to entry is so low. Anyone can go onto ChatGPT, put in some prompts, put in some functions, and get an output like this. But what we want to do is be separated from the market and actually use it successfully to win new business. So I thought I'd start by what AI usually looks like now from most people using it. And like Ben said, you can absolutely tell if something like this has been written by AI, right? It's just so generic. It comes across with the specific like AI botty type tone. And we want to avoid that. So I'm going to show you in this video multiple ways how we can do this. And I'm actually going to be giving you as well in the chat some clay tables. If you have clay, I would recommend you use that and give you some like frameworks for clay tables that you can literally start using today. Okay. So what you want to learn is basically that AI can be seen, you basically need to reframe how you see AI. Okay. So you should be using it to replace the same process that you have, just removing your manual effort from the process. So instead of getting AI to fully replace everything you're doing, you just need to empower, right? Empower yourself with AI. So the most successful use cases of AI that I've had and my clients have been from just redoing their manual processes just with extra AI in there and automation, right? So what I mean by this is usually we look at a 3-step process, which would be mapping out your current most successful BD processes that are manual. Maybe it's reaching out to like lookalike companies that are very similar to each other in a very specific niche market, and you have a message that you can write to them. Maybe it's companies that are hiring. You go on LinkedIn, find the company that's hiring, find the hiring manager or even the CEO, founder, whatever it might be, and drop them a message. You could also be doing a term that's sort of coined as ambulance chasing. Say someone's left the company, then you can keep your eyes on that. You need to obviously be active in the market, in the network to understand who's moving around companies and use that as intent data to then go and do the outreach. But the reality is AI and automation can replace a lot of this. So we don't just want to fully rely on AI, we want to use it to empower us, right? So fundamentally, you must look at it like AI as an employee. It is a funny way of looking at it, but it's how I personally look at AI when I use it for my campaigns, right? I don't just completely rely on it. I understand that it needs to be trained and taught how to perform at the highest standard. And it's funny because you actually can train AI. You can do something in ChatGPT, which is creating custom GPTs. And some of you may have even played around with this before. And you can actually train it with your information. So you can create your own GPT, put in your own information to it, and it will learn that. So then you ask it questions and it will respond in a way that maybe you would speak or based off your company's information, right? But the main benefit of using AI right? It's obviously that employees take days off and they have sick pay and these things, which of course is normal, but AI doesn't do that, and it has no marginal cost of replication, meaning it creates leverage in your business. So you're going to be able to achieve a lot more with a lot less because it has no marginal cost of replication. If you want to scale your BD processes, usually you have to hire more people, hire more BDRs. With AI, there's no marginal cost of replication. You can continue to use it more effectively and use it at higher volume without significantly increased cost. Obviously, there's costs to things like databases and Clay, but AI itself has a very low marginal cost of replication, meaning that it creates leverage, right? So I actually want to go into a proper campaign now, not just talk about all the theory of it. I want to give you a proper campaign that you can actually run using AI and automation. So this would be using Clay. If you've heard of Clay, just put like a yes or a thumbs up in the chat because I want to know how many people are familiar with this. If you're not, then I'll be very surprised. Yeah, I can see already loads of people saying yes. Cool. No, I'm not surprised. That makes sense. So that's really good to know that everyone already basically is using Clay because I have some Clay tables. You can see I've got links here that I can share in the chat, and you can actually use these tables live, and you can use them as soon as this call ends to actually start building campaigns. There's 3 main campaigns that we're going to go over using Clay. It's going to be companies that are hiring, it's going to be lookalike audiences, and it's going to be companies who have had someone leave, so we can basically offer a replacement if we have a candidate who would be a good replacement. So just to give you an idea of how this works with this particular campaign, a lot of recruiters or BDRs will spend a lot of their time scraping job boards manually. Maybe you're going through LinkedIn, scrolling LinkedIn, you're trying to find the open jobs in a specific industry, right, that match your criteria, and then making a note of those and reaching out to the hiring manager, reaching out to the CEO or something like that. We don't want to be doing that. We want to be doing this automated, right, with something like Clay. And the way that you do it, I can actually share my screen and go into this live right now, is by going into Clay. Let's just open this up here, go open up my account, right? And you want to create a table, and it's going to be called a find jobs table. So let me just make this a bit larger. And what this effectively will do, will cut out all the manual process of you actually finding jobs, okay? So you can simply just put in job titles here that you want to search for. Let's just say it is a business development representative, for example. I'll put business development manager instead. You can put BDR, you just need to basically put it as your own search term. Clay has its own recognized ones. So say I want to look for BDMs, business development managers. Let's say I want to search for them in the United States. I put that in location. Let's say I want them to have a specific skill or be trained in a specific software, maybe, then you could actually put that in the job description and it would only pull jobs that are open that have this specific keyword in the job description. I'm going to leave this blank for now, but if you are in a specific market and only a very small percentage of these open jobs will apply to you, then you can obviously use that, right? So let's find this. We're looking for BDMs in the US, and we can very simply just press preview jobs, and it's going to find absolutely thousands of these. So I think I'm in Clay workspace that is lower credit, so I've quite a few of these workspaces. But what it will do is it will just basically compile you a list of loads of companies, right? There's probably going to be thousands in the larger table, all hiring for a business development manager, tells you where they're hiring, when the job was posted, and you have a link to the actual job URL as well. So you can see the actual job that was posted, okay? So that's basically how you can find companies that are hiring very, very quickly, just using a very easy Clay search. What you do from there is you want to import this into a new table, okay? And don't worry, we'll have this recorded. So if you want to go back over this and actually run this campaign yourself, you can do so. And actually in the notes, I'm going to drop the link here as well for this table. So you can do this yourself. Skip ahead. Sorry, Tamara, I've just seen you said please don't post the links here. I just have, so I apologize for that. I won't post the next one. But yeah, thanks, Ben. So basically that table that I just put in there, that link, that will basically
He said,
automate a lot of the process for you.
Harry,
Sorry,
jump in real quick. He said, please post the links, not please don't. So yeah,
oh,
please.
sorry. I thought it said please don't. My apologies. Okay, cool. We're all good. It was me just skimming over a bit too quickly. My apologies. Cool. you the most basic search. So you find all these companies that are hiring for a business development manager. Great. You've got their company name, you've got their domain, all of this stuff. However, obviously, as you'll see, a lot of these will be recruitment agencies. We do not want to reach out to those. So we need to start cleaning this list. And also you can clean by when the job was posted. So we probably don't want to reach out to jobs that have been open since 26th of July, unless maybe you do. We could also do really old jobs, right? If they're still open and there's clear need there. But for the most part, we'd probably want to do jobs that have been posted in the last 90 days and remove all of these staffing and recruiting companies. So I also have a link to share with you, which is actually our internal hiring SOP. So this is what we actually use for our company. It's a step-by-step instruction of how to do this whole thing by yourself if you want to know exactly how it works. But one of the most important steps right at the beginning is removing all of the staffing and recruiting companies. So the way this is typically done is by adding an enrichment within Clay. So an enrichment will just give us more information within Clay about a specific company or a person or something like that. So let's just add this enrichment and we'll see that the enrichments cost money, or cost credits, I should say. So if I want to enrich the company, then you see it's going to cost us 1 credit per row. And what this will give us is the company size, the industry, right? So then we can exclude companies outside of our sort of bracket, and we can exclude companies that are recruitment agencies, right? So that's effectively the next step that you'd want to do. You'd want to add an enrichment, figure out how big these companies are, what industry they're in, and also get the URL of the company. So I'm just going to save this and run these for the first 10 rows, so you can see what it's like. And there's also a bit of a hack as well. If you really want to save Clay credits and minimize your consumption as much as possible, then things like filters are free, right? So that used 1 credit for every row. However, if I wanted to completely minimize my credit consumption on Clay, then what I would do is I'd actually start to remove keywords in company names, right? So if I went to filter on this column, then I could put does not contain any of, and then I could put loads of recruitment or staffing keywords. And this is a filter, so it's completely free. So if I just put staff, recruit, talent, right? Then you can see I've removed 7 companies already, 7% of the list, just with 3 keywords. And that hasn't cost any credits. So that's usually what I do at the start, and that's what this SOP will teach you to do. It will teach you to get rid of all the duplicates, remove all of the like keyword filters as well. So we basically just want to clean the list as much as possible for free, and then start to enrich it with extra information, right? So we can see that we've got the employee count, the industry, and we've got the URL. So once we have the LinkedIn URL of the company, and I apologize if I'm going a bit quickly here, what we want to do then is find some contacts at this company. So this is a really simple, nice and easy one. Let's just type in find contacts. Boom, it's 1 credit here. It's this one. This icon is actually using LinkedIn, so it pulls data directly from LinkedIn. We'll save the results in this table. Okay, so we all have it in one place. You can also save the results in another table, and that won't cost you a Clay credit, but I'm just going to show everything in one for the sake of this video today. And then what we want to do is start filtering for job titles. So let's say I want to reach out to this Chief Executive Officer. Let's say I want to reach out to the founder, the owner, the president, and all of these senior titles, right? I could put those in. However, if I was just to run this now, I would find the data for all of these companies, but a lot of these companies might be outside of my criteria. I'm just going to say for the sake of this video that my criteria is between 50 to 500 employees, and obviously not a staffing and recruiting company. So the way that I would do that is actually use this thing called conditional formatting that's on the bottom of this pop-up here. I would go to use AI, and I'd basically just prompt AI and say, only run this column if, and then I'll do a / and bring in the variables if employee count is between 50, 500, and if, then I would add in the industry is not staffing and recruiting. Okay, and then I can generate a formula, and it should only run for specific companies. So as we can see, it will give you like a sample. So for this first one, they're in truck transportation and they're 350 employees in size. So it would run. The second one, too large and a staffing and recruiting company. Third one, too small, so it wouldn't run. Fourth one, too small also, right? So if I just put this in, then I can continue to add fields. Let's say I want to receive their name and their LinkedIn URL, and I'm just going to run this, right? So once again, don't worry, I have the SOP going over this step by step for everyone here that I can send to you if I'm going a bit too quickly. But you basically come up with an extremely targeted list, right, of companies that are hiring, and usually you'd have to filter this out manually and check everything yourself. But now you can do it with conditional formatting and formulas and AI, right, to find this CEO, president, or founder that is hiring for a business development manager in New Jersey that was posted on the 3rd of January. And then you can even go as far to use AI to actually use the job description to create your email. The way you do that is there's an enrichment called Claygen. So this is an AI web researcher that can go on any website pretty much and scrape data from it. So if I was this is obviously going to be a very bad prompt, but I'm just going to say, please help me write a personalized email using this job description. This is just going to be to paint the picture, basically. This won't actually be the email that you'd send, of course, but you could put different variables in here, like help me create a personalized first line, saying I have a candidate that's similar to this job post, but basically I'll just put in the job LinkedIn URL. Please help me write a personalized first line. Cool. And let's save this. I'm going to save it and just run it for the very first one. But you can do things like that using AI as well. So then we would have all of this in one place, and you could actually export this. For example, export this as a CSV file and upload it into your email sending software, whether that's SmartLead, Instantly, which we'll get onto tools in a second, actually. But you can basically have everything in one table and export it into your actual sending software so that you can be sending super personalized emails. Now, this will probably take a minute or so. I can come back to this when this is finished. But that would be how to use that first table in that first campaign to find companies that are hiring effectively at scale, right? Because business development in 2025, you're going to need to do it at a high scale as well. Obviously, it's going to need to be personalized, but you're going to need to at a pretty large scale to see good results. So that's the very first one. So if I go back to sharing my screen here, I'll share all those links as well after, just in case I've missed any. So as I mentioned, use AI to help you write more effective copy to these leads on an automated basis. So instead of having to personalize the emails by hand, you can use AI to at least create 80% of the copy, right? Saving you a lot of the time. To then actually send that outreach to these prospects, right? And as I said, using Claygen, you can make the campaign just as targeted, but fully automated, and pretty much write the whole email as well, which is going to be really cool. So that was the first one. It's probably quite simple. I've seen some questions pop up, so I'll go over a couple questions now. Does Clay scrape only from LinkedIn or also jobs posted on Indeed, for example? So Clay only actually scrapes from LinkedIn. If you want to scrape from somewhere like Indeed or Monster or something like that, then I personally would recommend either using a tool called Appify.com, which has custom built scrapers for these sorts of websites. Yeah, absolutely. Or you could use Instant Data Scraper, which is actually a free Chrome extension where you can go on basically any website. The only website, funnily enough, that doesn't work is LinkedIn, but every other website will work, and you can scrape that data for free. So Appify, I think, is $49 a month. The Chrome extension called Instant Data Scraper is completely free. You would just scrape the data, and then you'd import that data into Clay to then find the emails, to find the key decision makers, as we've just done, right? So I'll put the link for the Instant Data Scraper for you to have a look at as well. But no, Clay basically just does LinkedIn. So let's have a look at another campaign here. So I would just want to give you as much useful information and actual actionable steps that you can go away with as possible. So what if you wanted to reach out to companies that have just had a key player leave? That's another campaign that obviously we can run. And we have the link for this campaign here. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to import this link and share this in the chat as well. Effectively, we have a template that we can use here, right? So I'm just going to put this in. Now, the way this works is what we want to do is we want to find people who are new to their position and then check using Clay, AI and automation, if they've just recently left their old position as well. If they have, then we can find the more senior contact at the old company and reach out to them with a highly personalized message. So let's say, for example, we want to create this table. Let's just say I want to do it using my workspace. Cool. So you can obviously import that into your workspace. You can go ahead and try and do it with me right now if you want to catch up. But I'll go through all of this just to start. It will look like this. It will look quite large. All you really need to do is make a couple of changes just to start. So there'll be an edit column called edit this column. And if you actually edit this one, you want to insert the job title that you're looking for here. For this one, I'm just going to do business development manager again. Don't know why that didn't let me put it in. Okay, it doesn't want to, for some reason, I can't type quick enough. So I'm just gonna have to leave it as business development for now. I'm gonna save this and don't run. And then find contacts. Just gonna leave this as it is as well. Cool. So you can pretty much leave that table as it is. All you want to do is just put in the job title you're looking for in the one that's called edit this column. Then what we want to do is we want to go to here, this really small plus where it says import profiles, and we're going to pour in profiles, people that are new to their job. Okay, so if I press if I press plus here, then let's say I want to find business development managers. I want to go to job titles who are new to their position. Business development manager. Let's just remove this. And how we find people who are new to their position is you go on experience. So let's say they have to have a maximum of 3 months in their current role, right? That means they've only been at that company for 3 months maximum. What we'll then do is enrich their profile to check what company they were at last and when they left. And if it was recently, then we can reach out to, maybe it's the head of sales, VP of sales, CRO, okay, in this example. But you just tailor it to your own example. So I'm going to put that in. I'm also going to put United States again. Perfect. And because this is a pre-built template for you, I would advise putting a limit, quite a small limit of maybe 10 to 50 to start, because this will probably just run for you. If you import a list of 1,000, I don't want you to be in a position where you're burning all of your Clay credits straight away. So I'd just put a limit, for example, of 10 here. And I'm going to preview this. And we found some people who are new business development managers. So what I'm going to then do is import it into this current table, and the automation should take care of it. So this is a template that's already been pre-built. So what it will then start doing is enriching this person. I need to do this in another workspace by the looks of it. So it will enrich this person, find what their old job was and when they left. It will then give us a tick if they've left within the last 3 months. So we can see this person left their last position in September, so it hasn't ticked because it's outside of the span of 3 months. This person has left in October, November, November, right? What it's then done is it's gone to basically match the keywords. So we want to reach out to people who were business development managers before, and now they're also business development managers. Okay, this should hopefully make sense. Hopefully I'm not going over it too quickly. But basically, if you go to edit this column, right, I've put in business development. So they need to have been a business development person before and still one now. The reason being is it won't run. You can see run condition not met for people that was something else. So this guy was a construction engineer, guy or girl was a construction engineer, but they did move their job in the last 3 months, but they weren't a business development manager. So I don't want to reach out to their company, right? So it hasn't run. It's only going to run if there's a match for the job title and they recently left. What will then happen is it should go on. Once again, I'm using a workspace for some reason that has no Clay credits. So I'll then go on to find the senior contact, like the CEO or something like that, and I can reach out to them and use this table and say, look, hey, so-and-so, I noticed that Caitlin, your old business development manager, recently left in October. Just wondered if you were on, the lookout for a replacement or you were on the market for a replacement. So that's basically how you can make it much more targeted using this sort of intent data, because this is real data that's been pulled off LinkedIn. So you can make it really, really targeted. So that's another way that you can basically use Clay and use that Clay table that I've shared with you in the description. And then I also have a document going over that as well in a bit more detail. But this one is really, really targeted. It's worked really well for us because it's just usually what people would say manually, right? It's very, very similar to what you'd say manually. It's using people's exact names, if you want, in the email, using the exact position they were at, exactly when they left, and what company they've gone to now, right? So you can make it really, really hyper targeted, which I think works really, really nicely. So definitely try that campaign out. Once again, the link should be in there that you can play around with it. Just try not to burn all those Clay credits like I have myself. So press play back on here. So that's the next one. And another campaign, I mentioned there's 3. This is the third and final one that I'm just going to go over on Clay, is going to reach out to companies that are similar to your best clients. So typically, with most businesses, even in other B2B industries, you want to be working with companies, obviously, you have good case studies for, and you perform well in that market. So instead of, obviously, once again, doing the low leverage activity to find companies that are similar or network, or things like that, all of those things, of course, have a time and a place. If you want to build a big list of companies that are really similar to each other quickly, then I would recommend to use Clay to do this, right? So once again, I have another Clay table that I can share. This is actually using a tool called ocean.io. So the way that this works is you just simply put a domain into ocean.io within Clay, and it will find a list of very, very similar companies. So say you have your best client. I'm just going to use obviously a very broad example here. Your best client is google.com, right? You'd put google.com in there and it would give you a list of however many lookalikes you want. It could be 100, 500, maybe even 1,000 lookalike companies that then you can go and market out to. And what I'd usually do is market out your results for that client. So say you've helped Google reduce their recruitment costs or recruitment expenditure by 23%, right? That's a very obviously just random example, but it should paint the picture. So if you've helped Google do that, then you can reach out to similar companies to Google and obviously basically pitch what you've done as a conversation starter, right? So that's what I'd do. I'd go into Clay. Once again, create a new table. I'll show you how you can do this. So I'll go create new table, type in lookalike, and it'll call find companies with lookalike. Go here, and then you can enter the company domain. So let's once again say it's google.com. You can add all the other filters in as well. Find what country you want them to be located in, what company size, what keywords, what industries, and then you can continue, and it will literally just populate you a list within Clay of these companies that are very, very similar to each other. And that can be a really powerful tool. All you need to do after that is find the key decision maker or the right contact for you at that company. And I think the table I actually have has automated that part of it for you. So let me just put that link in here as well. So that should be the third final Clay table that you can have a look at. And this should basically, all you need to do is import the source. So you'd basically pull up the table, press this little small plus icon, and it wouldn't look like this. It would look like the lookalike type table, and you'd put the lookalike company that you want to create a lookalike of in there, and then the table would just run by itself. It would find the right key decision maker, and then you could obviously reach out to them. Now, that's only half the game, right? Getting all of this contact information is only half of it. It's only half of the game because you need to actually have a really good outreach message as well to do that. So I'm going to give you some frameworks. For the example I've just basically listed, which is the lookalikes, this is a framework that's worked really well for us and our clients. Okay, and it looks something similar to this. So it's saying, hey, first name, came across your company and noticed similarities to client name, i.e. Google, here's how we help them achieve transformative results, right? And you say result 1, result 2, result 3. These need to be extremely tangible and extremely specific. So if you're just saying we help reduce recruitment costs, that's not good enough, right? So you need to come with something that's really tangible, really specific, like an exact figure or exact percentage, and that's going to basically help you make the message more compelling, right? Then you can explain how you help them, sorry. And then the final call to action would be, I believe we could drive similar results for you and your team by applying these proven strategies. Would this be worth a conversation? So I like to have my like call to action very soft, because it's just starting a conversation. As I'll go on to one of the latest slides in this presentation, AI is not here to replace the whole sales process. It can't do that. I'm a huge advocate for AI, but it cannot replace the whole sales process. I only truly believe it's very good at replacing the very first initial bit, which is the outreach message, right? From there, then we want to turn it into human conversation, human interaction as quickly as possible. So not just getting people to click a link to book into your calendar as soon as possible. We actually want them to start a conversation and go back and forth with us, right? So that's basically a framework that I would use. I can put this framework in the chat as well. If you want to have a play around with this, use Ocean to build your list of lookalikes, then use this exact script and see how it goes. Cool. So now I actually want to go on to AI tools that you can use today. Of course, Clay is a big one. This slide specifically isn't specific tools, but this is the infrastructure of how I would start thinking about using AI for your business development. There's 4 main pillars that I would use, right? So the first one is data. That is really all we use Clay for, is data. Okay, so it's finding data, finding companies that are hiring, finding companies that have had people leave, finding lookalikes, finding email addresses, finding phone numbers. Data, AI can basically speed up the data acquisition process significantly. So that's what we use AI for a lot in our company. Then, of course, number 2 is outreach. So whether it's on LinkedIn, email, cold calling, socials, if you even use that, you can use automation tools to replicate that process at scale as well. You also want systems and handling. So systems and handling is sort of like responses and management of leads. I would definitely use a CRM to do this. I think it's very difficult to manage this without a CRM, and some form of communication. So it could be Slack, right? I think having something like that is really important. I've put Zapier there because I'll explain to you how it works in a minute, but you could have every time someone responds to your email or responds to a LinkedIn message through your automation, you can be automatically notified in a different channel. You could even have a text go to your phone. I set that up for a client where they had a text go to their phone as soon as someone replied to their email campaign, so they could call them up straight away, right? And that's more on the system side. And then you have automation talking to all of it. So automation, once again, I'm going to go on to the exact tools in a second. Could be Zapier, Make, these sorts of things. And it's making sure that the whole system is running as one. You don't need to do anything too manually. The whole system can talk to each other, right? So with regards to data, there's only one tool that I would recommend you go all in on in 2025. And I've not stopped talking about it today, so you can probably guess what it is. And it's Clay. The reason being, Clay is an accumulation of all of the old databases, right? And I say old, they're not really old, they still exist and people still use them, but they're old in comparison to what you can achieve with Clay. Like, for example, Apollo, huge database. I still use it. I'm sure many people in this meeting, this webinar will probably use it as well. That is used by Clay. So you can connect your Apollo API key to Clay. So you can just use your credits directly from Clay, but your Apollo credits instead of the Clay credits, right? It's the same with a tool called Find Email. It's the same with a tool called Lead Magic. All of these different databases you can plug into Clay or just use them on Clay itself. And this is going to help you find real intent data. So I personally think there's a lot of tools out there on the market that say they can do intent data. Companies like, I don't know who's this is, I don't want to call out people directly, but companies like, for example, 6 Sense saying that you can look at direct intent data based off what people are Google searching. I don't personally believe that that can be actually the most efficient way to do it. You don't actually know if that's true. If someone's searching for a recruiter, you don't know if it's a candidate looking for a job versus a company who's actually searching for a recruiter. Whereas if you build your own intent data, you know you own the data. You can actually see what's going on. You can see the company that's hiring. You can see the person that's left. You can see the company that's a lookalike, right? You're more in control of the data. So that's why I recommend Clay as building first party intent data, so your own intent data, versus relying on someone telling you that someone's Googling something from a certain IP address that you should reach out to. I think you should build your own data and use that in your own outreach, right? So Clay is the one source you want to be focusing on to get ahead of your competition, because it's an accumulation of everything and it's just growing at such a rapid rate that I don't see it slowing down at all. Yeah, don't worry, I'll share the SOP links and everything as well for you to have a look at. Now, AI tools you can use today for your outreach. On LinkedIn, there's quite a lot. There's, of course, a lot more than what I've listed here, but the main ones that I actually recommend would be Zopto. The reason being is that creates a custom proxy every time you log into LinkedIn. So it's very safe. It's on the expensive side, but it's a much safer tool. You can also use Dripify. You can also use HeyReach. HeyReach I recommend if you're scaling LinkedIn, if you have multiple accounts, maybe 5, 10 plus, you can connect them all for a much basically more cost-effective way, and you can manage them all in one inbox. Dripify, I think, is one of the oldest players in the game, so they're good at what they do. And then for email, I'd only use 2 of these tools. I would only use these 2, SmartLead or Instantly. I personally don't think you should be wasting your time with anything else. And the truth is, as I've said at the bottom here, people spend 80% of their time trying to figure out what tool to use. It's completely the wrong thing to focus on, because at the end of the day, this is just a distribution channel. It's the same with anything. Say you have a physical product, you can master the distribution channels, but if no one wants your product, what you're selling, you're not going to make any sales. It's the same with if your outreach message isn't very good and your lead list is completely unqualified and inaccurate. It doesn't matter how good your distribution channels are, nothing's going to happen. So I don't think people should be spending 80% of their time trying to figure out what tool they need to use, because the truth is they all do pretty much the same thing. And I've used basically every single one and sent a lot of messages and a lot of emails from every single one. And the truth is they all do a very similar thing, right? So don't spend most of your time figuring out figure out most of your time getting better data and better messaging. That's what I'd recommend. And then tools you can use for automations and system handling are things like Zapier. So Zapier is sort of the main one that people use for automation to get basically systems to talk to each other. So say we're running that email campaign that was companies that are hiring for BDMs right now. That's great. Say we're running it in SmartLead. As soon as we get a reply in SmartLead, we want to get that response into Slack or on my phone or sent to me via email so I can get back to that lead as physically quickly as possible. Zapier will help me do that. Make.com will help me do that. N8n.io will help me do that. Zapier is the most user-friendly one. Make and N8n are a bit more technical and involve a little bit more code. It obviously allows you to play around with it a little bit more, but I still heavily rely on Zapier, and I use Zapier mainly for my business. But it will just basically help you reduce the friction between getting a response and getting them on a call. Because the number one thing, if we're talking about business development now, the number one thing to get leads on a call is just how quickly you can get back to them once they've shown interest. I'm sure people have seen the statistics. It's the same with advertising. People have interest right at the point of when they take action, and then 15 minutes later, it's died down. So if you can create systems where you can get back to leads far quicker, you're going to have far more success than your competition. And if this is completely automated as well, you're just going to blow your competition out of the water, right? For a CRM, I use close.com. The reason I use this, as we'll go into in a second, is it has something called a predictive dialer, or basically like a power dialer. The predictive dialer will actually call multiple phone numbers at once, and then as soon as someone picks up, it will divert to them. If someone calls back, then it will have a system where it will leave a voicemail and you can call them back after as well. But it just means you can do tons more calling and tons more outreach per unit time, increasing your efficiency and increasing your output. And then Slack, just to manage all of the communications in one place. So those are the tools that I recommend. Once again, I can share those with everyone after. So what are some real world use cases of this? I've talked about the theory. I've talked about the tables. I know I've given you the tables, but I want to show you what it's actually capable of doing. So if you recognize this, this is SmartLead. These are just screenshots of my SmartLead campaigns to show you what these campaigns are actually possible. So the first one, I was marketing out to companies that were hiring, and there was 31 positive replies or 31 leads within 14 days. So as you can imagine, reaching out to 5,000 people within 14 days. I had a lot of email accounts to help me do this. So I had a big infrastructure here. That obviously helped. But yeah, we had about a 3% reply rate, and 50% of those replies were positive with the copy that we were using. Then the second campaign was marketing out to lookalike companies. So we built a list of about 700 lookalike companies, 37 replies, so 5% reply rate, and then 21 of those, 56% of those were actually interested. This is one of the best campaigns by far that I recommend. If you can build a list of lookalike companies and market out your results to them, it's hard for them not to be interested because they can see there's so much trust built there. They know this company, you're dropping their name, you're dropping what you've done for them. It's a really good campaign to run, right? And then the third one was marketing out to companies who had someone leave. So I think we reached out to 216 people, 8 replies, 3.7% reply rate, and then 4 of those were positive replies, right? And obviously a positive reply is not a call booked. You need to actually get on the phone or respond to them to get the call booked in. And that's where the automation will come in. The quicker we can get back to these positive replies, the more success we're bound to have. So new opportunities as well. So I just want to talk about a little bit about the speculative stuff. I've gone over a lot of detail and I do enjoy the technical stuff, but there's some things that are a bit more speculative that I think will emerge a lot more in 2025. This is just more of an open discussion, right? So I think AI voice agents are going to get much larger. There's a company called 11 Labs. I'm not sure if anyone's heard of these, but they grew quite a lot last year. And they're starting to do things, they're starting to have use cases for hospitality companies now. I think I even spoke to one the other day. I tried to phone a restaurant to book a table, and it definitely wasn't a person that responded to me. I don't know if it was just a standard bot or an AI agent, right? So we could have the same things when it comes to interviewing mass scales of candidates, right? So say, for example, there's a position that's just thousands of applicants and it's mass hiring. Then you might see AI voice agents come into play here where it can ask specific questions, gain answers, and send that data to maybe the head person hiring just to save time. But I definitely think it's going to be on the rise. I don't think it's going to be replacing anything like cold calling anytime soon. It's just definitely not there yet. But it's going to have its use cases when it comes to mass applications, when it's just answering very easy questions. Like when you're booking a restaurant, you just need to know the time, the date, how many people, and that's it. Maybe if it's a, quite a, let's say, for example, a low skilled job, just needs to find the experience, how long they've been at their last company, all of these basic questions, and it can just gather data. So yeah, I don't think, and I'm not going to lean into voice AI for business development because I don't think it's going to be a cold calling tool. Maybe towards the end of 2025, we'll see. But I think it's really good. And then there's another one that I've heard a few people speak about, and I've used this myself personally, which worked for me okay, but I just preferred to run my standard campaigns because it was a bit more complex. There's a tool called La Growth Machine. It's a platform very similar to Dripify and HeyReach, these things. So it's a LinkedIn email automation. But what you can do is you can send AI voice notes on LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be AI voice notes. You can just send like a standard voice note on LinkedIn, but you can automate this sort of stuff. So I just want to basically open your mind to what's going to be possible and what's going to be happening within 2025. There's going to be people sending AI voice notes, obviously AI calls, these sorts of things. So it's worth keeping your eye on, and I'm keeping my eye very close to these. I'm not using these substantially at the moment just because I think it does lose the human touch a little bit, but I'm keeping a close eye on them. Right. So the best practices for maintaining humanity in AI-driven processes is not to rely on AI to do the whole thing. That's just the truth of it. It's just not good enough to run the whole sales process. All we want to do is automate and make the very first step as efficient as possible. So all we want to really optimize for, if I go back to a couple of slides, is getting these positive replies. That's how I personally see AI. As soon as we have positive replies, AI shouldn't be taking calls. AI shouldn't be, doing things like that. Maybe AI can help you write proposals and reports based off the call notes of your call. That is also something I use it for. So I have my note taker in calls, and then AI can create a proposal straight away after that call from the stuff we discussed in the call. That can be really good. But you don't want it to do much more than that, right? Just admin tasks. after the call has actually been booked. Because fundamentally, especially in the recruitment space, you just want to be building relationships and nurturing leads, but you want to obviously do it in a more efficient and more affordable way using AI. So don't get AI to replace your processes. It's not here to replace things, just enhance it currently. So the dialer I mentioned was Close. Close CRM, close.com. I'll see if I can put this in here. I'm just about to speak about that now, actually. So what I'll go on to here is sometimes the issue is that you're on the wrong vehicle. So obviously it goes back to that very first email we looked at that was written by ChatGPT. No one's going to reply to that. If you send that out, you're just going to see zero success. And it's because you're doing the same as everyone else. Like, as I said, 90% of the market does stuff like that and sees messages like that, right? So if you do the same as everyone else, you only ever get the same results as everyone else. Most people only know ChatGPT when it comes to AI, and in all honesty, it has many limitations, not because of the tool itself, but just because of the barrier to entry, the accessibility of it. It's super, super low. Whereas there's two tools that I'm going to show you that I'd like you to try and basically play around with, I think will be more successful for you in your BD and content creation as well. Claude is one, and then Perplexity is the other. So Claude is one of the best tools for actual copywriting and content creation that I've used instead of standard ChatGPT. It phrases the answers in a slightly different way. And I'm going to show you, basically, I've been using it for my LinkedIn for the last probably 6 months or so. And I haven't really been spending any time creating LinkedIn content. It's something I personally want to do more of this year. But nonetheless, it's allowed me to grow, like 125,000 impressions over the last 90 days and reach 46,000 members over the past 90 days. It's not crazy. Obviously, I'm not a LinkedIn influencer by any means, but this is literally just from maybe 1 hour a week using AI to help me create content. So it was very easy for me to do, very low friction, and it just meant I could get my stuff out there much quicker, right? So for these tools, I recommend you use Claude.ai and then Perplexity.ai. They basically frame the answers slightly different to ChatGPT. Even just for content creation, I know on LinkedIn when I can see someone's just put something into ChatGPT, it has the funny emojis as well. I'm sure other people are starting to recognize that. So if you use these tools, try and use it for your content creation. I actually have a separate video. I'm going to run over way too long if I keep talking. So I have a separate video that I can send people that trains you how to use these tools for actual specific LinkedIn content, which is like a 10, 15-minute Loom video. So if people are interested in that, connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll send it over to you. But definitely have a look at these tools. Claude and Perplexity just makes your content and copywriting sound a little bit different to the standard AI. Okay, so what I wanted to go over now was just a quick little bit. Once again, I know people will be interested in the cold calling and the dialing stuff. So whether it's for you or your BDR, I wanted to explain to you how you can empower your BDRs with AI. So personally, I think you get a great duo here of Clay and Close. That it's basically predictive dialing plus data-driven calling, right? So that list that we had a look at that we basically developed, 40 minutes ago now, finding companies that are hiring. What you could then do is go on to find these people's phone numbers. You could just add an enrichment in Clay, really, really simple. You just go into Clay, press add enrichment, type in mobile, and you can find the senior contacts, their mobile numbers within Clay, right? What you could then do is export that list, put it into something like Close. So you've got the data from Clay and the actual execution in Close, which will then do a big, it will dial all of these contacts. Whoever picks up, great, we're straight onto them. And what will happen is Close can pull up notes about this contact. It's a really good CRM. All my sales team use it and I've been using it for some time. So say, for example, we know this person's hiring for a BDM. As soon as they pick up, we could have the notes pop up that are pulled directly from Clay. We know when the job was open. You could even have the job LinkedIn URL there, so you can press on it, see how many people have applied, see what they're looking for in the exact job description, and it will make the whole BDR cold calling process much more efficient. Instead of just churning through numbers, on like a sheet or something, it's a very inefficient way to do it. So I'd recommend using Clay, or at least looking into Clay and Close directly to add in predictive dialing to make more calls per every unit of time to be more efficient. And then when those calls pick up, you actually have notes in front of you of what you can say. So I definitely recommend that. And obviously get your team creating content. Once again, it's something I want to work on this year. It's a goal of mine. But just like software, like AI, content or media is a huge lever to achieve success with your BD, right? It's one of these things, once again, that has outsized returns. If you can get viral content, it doesn't need to be like crazy viral content, just things that perform well on LinkedIn, you're going to get in front of so many more people. Once again, it's one of these things where content goes from one to many. Luckily, I'm not sure how many people are in here, but I'm very thankful to be able to speak to a lot of you at once versus speak to one of you at a time, right? So it's just something to consider that content, I think, is going to be a big part to play. Not only is it one to many instead of one to one, but it's also just going to have that nurturing effect as well. If you're always top of mind and you're always posting stuff on LinkedIn, then it's going to be much easier to close deals in the long run because the more people see you, the more they'll trust you, and it will just get deals across the line. So use obviously AI to help you create content as well, which will be a huge lever for your team. So we're pretty much there now. The key takeaways for this would be finding companies that are hiring on LinkedIn using the table I sent, finding companies who have had an employee leave using the table I sent, finding lookalikes, once again, using the table I sent, and then use these tools. So this is what I would personally do if I was relatively new to this AI and automation stuff in 2025 as a recruiter. Source data pretty much only from Clay. Obviously, you can use LinkedIn and things like that, but it's going to be much more effective, genuinely, yourself learning Clay and doing it on there than trying to hire a VA to pull you data. That's just how I would do it. Source data from Clay, upload it into SmartLead and Dripify. Once again, you can choose. It's not the end of the world if you have Instantly or SmartLead. It's basically no difference. But my personal preference is SmartLead and Dripify if you don't have any tools right now. And then piece everything together in the back end using Zapier and Slack. So that's a very simplistic sort of overview of what I would do at the end of it. So if you're looking for someone to run campaigns like this for you, obviously we're here at acquired.com. Had to get a little plug in there, of course, and drop me a message on LinkedIn. I'm just going to try and post stuff like this all the time, stuff that's valuable. I'll be posting more SOPs that you can use, more Clay tables and things like that. So yeah, it's time for a Q&A now. So I'm not sure how we're going to do this. If people just want to fire away questions and I can answer them.
I got the Q&A box already set up to help you with.
I'm not sure how it works, but I'll just start with the questions in the chat.
We got the Q&A box up also.
Perfect. Thanks for sending my LinkedIn there, Ben. So we've got a question. For cold calling, I've been using Ring Central. Would it be a good idea to switch to Close? So however I make, basically the premise I go by to make all of my decisions is going to be data driven. What I would do is use Ring Central again for another week or two, right? Or maybe it could be a good idea if you've got 1 month left to cancel it. You can always renew at the end. Track data for that month or that 2 weeks. How many dials have you made? How many pickups have you had? How many bookings have you had, etc. And directly compare this against your data within Close. I personally would recommend Close, but I'm biased because I use it every day. But if you just map out the data for even at least 1 week at a minimum, then you can see, obviously you can see the proof in the pudding for yourself. You want it to be a data-led, data-backed decision. So I'd probably just track your data. And if you don't have tracking sheets, once again, that's a reason why I'd move to Close because it's easier to track stuff there. But you could even track it in a Google Sheet, for example, right, for a week, then track it on Close, have a direct comparison and see which one looks better to you. Hopefully that answers it. It's a bit of a cop-out answer, but at the end of the day, it does depend on yourself and it depends on the results you're getting. If you're getting great results, don't fix something that's not broken.
Harry, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Throw in the chat if you guys can hear me.
I completely missed the Q&A. So I'm not sure if you guys can see the Q&A that I've got up on my screen now.
Maybe Harry can't hear me.
What have I done? See if I can stop sharing. Oh, maybe I can't hear Ben.
Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Harry.
Oh, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. I'll help you with the questions.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That sounds good.
All right, cool. I'm going to be jumping into the Q&A. So thank you, everybody, for chiming in that you guys could hear me because actually my mic broke yesterday. So I couldn't even say goodbye to on the last session. So real
Oh,
quick,
no.
before we jump into the Q&A, drop an emoji on your thoughts about this session.
It's the moment of truth.
It is the moment of
No
truth.
thumbs down.
All right. First question. Does the available jobs table work only for US based jobs, or do you search, or do you guys also have a search in Europe?
Yeah, so you can search globally. So I probably skipped over it very quickly because I wanted to fit everything in. But basically, as you build that table from scratch, it will ask you a location where you want to search these jobs. I selected United States, but it honestly got pretty much every country there. So you can do it completely globally. You can do it in a specific location. Say randomly, for example, you want to look in Romania in Europe, then you can do that as well. So I just picked US because I knew there'd be a lot of jobs there. But if you do want to make it specific to one country, you can do that.
And Sean just asked, I just signed up for Clay. Which plan would be most appropriate to get started? There's quite a few different plan options. Not sure which one contains the most necessary functions.
Yeah, so I don't think you can go, if you can afford it, I wouldn't go wrong, or you can't go wrong with the $350 a month one. You get a really good amount of Clay credits, and it pretty much allows you to do every function. Only the very expensive plan, I think it's $800 a month, allows you to do some things with APIs. But that will be a very, very technical basis. Even the $150 a month plan is not bad. 350 I would recommend. It's going to be probably the best one, like best bang for your buck. But it also depends on your budget as well, right? But even, if you start to get one sale from this, it will make it worth it. So I would recommend the middle plan.
I feel like this is a softball question for you, Harry.
Yeah,
Are there Clay experts that you can hire to help you do this?
there are, yeah, there are. There's a lot out there. Obviously, I wouldn't say I'm at the level of some people out there. I do know a thing or two about Clay, and I'm happy to help people with it. But there's Clay communities. In fact, I actually recently started a school community on Clay, how to teach Clay. So people can join that if they wish. That's free. But there's a lot of Clay experts out there. You can also search on LinkedIn. Clay agencies, they call themselves now. Clay agencies. But yeah, there's a lot of people that can do this stuff for you. Just I would usually check their videos out, see what they've done before, and if it looks good, then put your trust into them and they can run it for you.
And there's been a bunch of questions about links. So what I'm thinking, Harry, is like I chat with you after we're done and we find a good place to put the links. Maybe on your talk page, we can maybe add a whole link list.
Yeah, I didn't realize how many links I had. I've got a lot, so yeah, it would be good to put them somewhere else.
Well, I'll probably look at at least by tonight, East Coast time. If you go back and look at the talk page for this talk, I'll have Harry send me all the links, including the SOP and I see a lot of like direct messages to us about those. So like it'll be like the information about his talk, and underneath the information about a talk, it'll have all the links that he shared. Is that good? Cool. Awesome. Throw me a thumbs up if that works for everybody. All right. The next question is, how much would a tech stack like this cost to use all or most of these tools?
Yeah, great question. A very important one. So with the tools that I recommended, I'd recommend getting Clay, about $350 a month. Smart Lead, around $94 a month. So what's that? Just under $450. Dripify is around $70 a month. And then I'll have Zapier and Slack. Zapier you can get for as little as $29 a month. I think you can even get a free plan. Overall, if you're looking at getting the full tech stack and being able to do a decent amount of volume, it's probably going to look like in the region of maybe $600 or so a month if you want to run it yourself. If you wanted to run tons of email accounts as well and run email at high volume, I'll probably add on an extra $200 or so if you want to run at very high volume. But a stable amount will probably be around $600 or so a month.
All right. And are you going to post the prompts that you use in Claude and Perplexity?
Yeah, I can do that. I can do that for my content. What I like to do, I can put a bit of context around it as well, because I basically like to, it's a bit odd, but I have a conversation with it first about the content I'm going to create. those are basically my prompts. I have a conversation, I get to ask me questions and then answer those, and it creates content from those. But yeah, I can put those in. That's absolutely no problem.
Awesome. So we got a whole list of stuff to put together. How do you
For sure.
track leads that you previously contacted to ensure that you don't repeat contact? I suppose your CRM, use your CRM for this, but what is the workflow logic? For example, does your CRM talk to Clay to indicate that you should exclude previously contacted leads?
Yeah, so you'd have Close and Smart Lead integrated. Luckily, what we use, mostly Smart Lead will do pretty much all of it. So I would usually only run a handful of campaigns. Those three are potentially examples that I would look at, and I'd group them up, right? So I'd have a Smart Lead account with 3 campaigns, and then anytime I upload a lead list, it will automatically look for a duplicate. If it finds a duplicate, then I can tick a button that says, I don't want to upload this contact. And it means that I won't be able to put them into the system. Equally, if someone has unsubscribed or opted out, then in Smart Lead, I would basically change them to like a do not contact put them on the do not contact list. Then if you upload this contact in any campaign throughout your whole Smart Lead account, it will automatically exclude them. So I'd actually say 90% of the heavy lifting is done within Smart Lead itself. But then when you're moving data around and stuff, you want to have it in Close. So you can have those two talk to each other, but most of the heavy lifting is actually done within Smart Lead itself. It can automatically deduplicate contacts and remove contacts that are in your do not contact list and stuff like that.
It'd be great if I actually hit the unmute mic button. All right. Christina says, if you're using Sales Navigator currently, should we cancel this and replace it with Clay, or is Clay great in addition to Sales Nav?
Clay is great in addition to Sales Nav. I would keep Sales Nav. The reason being, it depends what you're using Sales Nav for, but a lot of people, myself included, use Sales Nav to do outreach as well. Clay is a data sourcing platform. LinkedIn Sales Nav can be used for distribution and outreach. So if you're just using LinkedIn Sales Navigator for the filters to build a list, then I'd just do it on Clay. But if you're also making use of extra connections, extra emails, extra obviously things you can do with the features of Sales Nav, then I'd keep it. But if it is simply just for the filtering aspect, you'll be able to do all of that within Clay, and you can actually get rid of it.
If you're just starting out and needed to be cost conscious, which tools would you consider a must have versus a nice to have to grow your business?
So if you want to be cost conscious, what I would do is you can start a campaign for free today if you needed to and get somewhere. The way that I would do that is create a free account on Clay and create a free trial account on Dripify. Connect to your LinkedIn account to the Dripify account. You have about 7 days to use it for free until you need to pay $70 or $79 a month. Then within Clay, use the free account to build lists of companies that are hiring, for example. Now, what you may have noticed, is you can actually build lists of contacts in Clay and get their LinkedIn URL without having to use a credit. That might not make much sense until you actually get a chance to play around with Clay, but you can find people's LinkedIn URLs on Clay without using any credit, so it doesn't cost you any money. What you can then do is export this list into Dripify, create your outreach message, put the list in there, and boom, you can have 7 days worth of running completely for free of outreach. And obviously, if something comes from that, great, and you can reinvest it in. If not, then I would start with just Dripify and Clay on the lowest sort of tiers possible. I would only start with one channel, email or LinkedIn. I personally would recommend LinkedIn for recruiters. Master that. When you get very good at that, then you can afford to put extra expenditure into the other channels. But just get good at one channel first, and for most part, that's going to be LinkedIn. So that's what I'd recommend.
This is another money one. How much do you invest in money in order to have all these tools to integrate them and work and flow as you showed? Is there a way to reduce costs? Clay already has its own costs. How can you do this without increasing costs? I run a small company.
I like the question. There's a few layers to it, but I think I understand. For an exact figure, I won't share that, but I spend quite a lot on Clay to run it for a lot of different companies. So it is expensive for me. But if you're looking to basically make it as cost affordable for yourself as possible, which I'd imagine is the goal, then you can't do things like creating free accounts all the time because you'll get basically banned from Clay. So I wouldn't recommend doing anything like that. What I would do is just have either the free plan for as long as you can, or the lowest tier plan, and just try and maximize the use of that data. Like use the free plan, as I said, to get LinkedIn URLs that then you can put into LinkedIn automations, or do the actual manual outreach yourself. You've either got two levers to pull most of the time. You can spend time or you can spend money. If you don't have much money, then you need to spend more time. And that's how I would look at it. Clay is going to be able to save you a lot of time, but in return, you spend money. If you have a lot of time, you don't have much money, then spend the time to do the manual outreach, to do things manually, to find numbers manually, to do the outreach manually. So it depends on your budget. If you have budget to afford the cheapest plan, go with it for 2 to 3 months, stick with it and see what it produces you. If you don't have any of that, then obviously you just need to understand that you just need to put more time into it, and that should equally work as well. You should still get a return from your time.
Tim says, I run a 360 desk and this process seems to be straightforward, but time is limited. Any suggestions on outsourcing to a VA that could accomplish this task?
Great question. So what I would do there, personally, I've done something similar to this before. What you'd want to do is you want to look at communities, mainly Slack communities, like the actual Clay Slack community or the Smartly Slack community. The reason being, this actually has a lot of VAs and people from all over the world in these communities, and you can post jobs in there. So instead of posting a job on LinkedIn or Facebook or something, you're going to appeal to a different demographic. I would go to Slack communities, post jobs in there, and you'll find a lot of the type of like people you're after, a lot of VAs and things like that. So that's how I try and hire some of the talent that I find that's able to use Smartly, to use Clay and things like that, that's cost effective. I would find these like small knit communities, mainly in Slack, the Slack community for Clay, the Slack community for Smartly. Post your open jobs in there, people you're looking for, and you'll get applicants for sure.
Awesome. And then if you did these tech stacks, what LinkedIn plan would you get?
Personally, I always get LinkedIn Sales Navigator just because it allows me to send a lot of emails and I can do outreach from there. But it's not required. It depends on obviously how much outreach you want to do and what the goals are with it. So if you're just using LinkedIn from a data sourcing point of view, or you have someone on your team that's currently got Recruiter or Sales Nav, but they're just using it for data sourcing, I would cut that and I'd just have them on a basic plan. Use Clay for all the data stuff. I'd only have LinkedIn plans when you actually need to do the outreach, personally.
And I'm sure this is like one person that asked both these messages. Is there a risk of getting your emails flagged for spam? And also, how do you avoid the need for opt-in permissions?
Yeah, good question. So the opt-in permissions, it's effectively like a gray area with every business. It's the same with cold calling. Are you allowed to cold call someone? Yes or no? Obviously, technically, yes, everyone does it. It's the same with email. The way I see it is if you can genuinely help someone's got a business development manager position open, it's been open for some time, you know exactly how long it's been open for, you have a candidate that could fit that role, you're reaching out with value. I think the whole space has got a bit sort of tarnished from people just sending mass crazy scale outreach that's completely irrelevant. If you have something that looks like it's actually been written by yourself anyway and something personal to what you'd write, I don't think you don't need to worry about the opt-in permissions. If you're looking to do newsletter type content, then you need opt-ins. But for this, you can just email people with the emails you find from Clay. And then sorry, what was the second question? I've forgotten it. My apologies.
How do you avoid like getting hit by spam filters?
Yeah, that's it. I could probably go on for another hour about that. There's a lot of different things, but fundamentally, you just want to make your emails not too long, not send too many of them from one account. So not send more than say 40 or 50 a day consistently from one account, and make sure your DNS settings are configured correctly. Those are the three main things you can focus on. Once again, I could talk about this for probably a full hour, but those are the three main levers. Don't make your emails too long. Make sure you don't send too many, and check your DNS settings to make sure your emails can actually deliver properly.
Somebody asked if you could give some more information about your services and maybe even the fees with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's pretty much a bespoke, it's on a bespoke basis. So what I'd recommend, if you basically add me on LinkedIn, I'm always open to a chat. We can talk about it either through LinkedIn DMs or jump on a call if you're interested in learning more, and we can take it from there. So yeah, I think the best thing would be to learn more about your current situation, what you're looking for, how aggressively you want to scale, and things like that. So just hit me up on LinkedIn and we can have a casual chat about it, no problem.
Somebody asked, do you have a Clay community that you recommend?
Clay community, I think the Slack community, if you have Slack, is really good. They've got a lot of members. It's quite active as well. There's also a Clay, I think it's called like Clay Creators Program. I'm technically part of it, but I think they've got a good community there. If you're really involved in or into Clay, you can join like a Clay Creators Program and get access to the other Clay creators as well. These are probably people who are experts in Clay. That could be good. If you are looking for just something small and easy that you can learn quite quickly, I've got a free school community as well that, once again, this will be one of the many links probably that you can join. I've got some videos on how to use Clay there as well. But Slack community is a good place to start.
You mentioned not to waste time on other SaaS products. Is there a major difference between Mixmax and SmartLead?
I have never heard of Mixmax personally. I don't know if I can do some very quick research here now. Considering I've never heard of it, I would opt for SmartLead, and I may have been maybe may have missed out the fact I haven't heard of it. It may be very good, but the truth is, to be an email sending platform and be good at it, you need to invest quite a lot in making sure your IP addresses are good, because that means you have good deliverability. That's why I usually stick with the big players, because they have the biggest team of developers and they pump the most money into deliverability. So that's why things like SmartLead and Instantly are always my go-tos. Mixmax, this new one, I don't know if it's even new, but I haven't heard of it. Could be great, but personally, if you just stick with one of the fundamental ones, like SmartLead or Instantly, you can't go wrong, really.
Somebody said, I stink at content creation on LinkedIn. Claude is very intriguing to me to help with this and do better in 2025. Any further tips as a novice Claude user to develop content? Is it just going back and forth through the platform to tailor these messages, or specific highlights I should start with?
Great question. Honestly, I would probably start with a bit of back and forth, because you want to understand how it presents you its output also. I know it's a bit of it's not the best answer. I would start with back and forth, get an understanding for the platform. When you're actually asking for content to be created, you need to understand the fundamentals of the content you want to create as well. So I usually ask it, I say, look, everything I create needs to be concise. That's one thing. It needs to have a soft call to action. And I actually even say to it, don't make it sound too much like AI. I tell that to the AI and it somehow understands me. So just try and think of like 3 core fundamentals that you want in your content. For me, I want conciseness, soft call to action, so nothing too aggressive, and it not to sound like AI. So that's what I ask it. Figure out what your 3 like core principles are, put it into Claude, and it will create content around that for you.
I think I can answer this next one. What kind of ROI have you seen from all these tools in terms of acquiring clients? I'm pretty sure that you hit 6-figure months.
Yeah.
Are there any specific ones that have had the biggest impact in your business development? Probably Clay.
Honestly, but Clay is probably the biggest one, to be honest with you. Clay is pretty incredible. So Clay can just automate so much. It can get so much data. The data is very high quality. SmartLead also for me has been very, very good, which is the email sending software. So I'd say, yeah, honestly, they're probably all of importance. It's an ecosystem that needs to go together. If I just had Clay and no SmartLead, then it wouldn't work. I need all of them to work. But Clay is probably the thing that I've spent the most time on that's given me personally the most ROI.
Awesome. Well, that is it. So, hey guys, I just want to say thank you so much. I want to almost say like day 5, but we are in day 4 of this summit. It has been power packed. One thing I want you to do is either send a message directly to a speaker on LinkedIn, to a speaker that's had an impact, or actually, you got a question. I see a hand up, but I'll answer that in a second. Or, share it on LinkedIn. Share like some of the things that you've learned, and share some of the things that you're excited about, using to crush 2025. And real quick, I see Robin has a hand up. Give me 1 second. Robin, can you ask a question? Oh, hands down.
No worries.
Awesome. Well, Harry, I just want to say thank you. Me and Harry got some work to do to combine all the links into a place. And what I will do for all those still listening, in his talk page under the description, I'll make sure to add all the links that he wants to share in there, so you can easily go back to the talk page, grab the links that you need, so that way you can grow, and also make sure to follow Harry on LinkedIn and send him a message too. All right, guys, we got a quick break. Go, if you're on the East Coast, maybe go grab lunch before we get started rock and rolling at noon. So see you guys later, and keep crushing it.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Oh, nice to see you, Carsten. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Hi, Tracy. I'm Mary. Hello. So we have a visitor today, which is good because it means I don't have to talk as much, which at 8 a.m. UK time, because sort of when I've only had one coffee can be a challenge. But Harry doesn't have that excuse because you're in Dubai, aren't you? So like, what's the time there?
Midday here, it's 12.
Yeah, okay.
So I've had time to warm up.
There you go. Good. Okay, so you can take the floor for me today. Mary is also in Dubai. So
amazing.
So yeah, Harry is founder of Acquired. They know everything to do with processes, automation, outreach strategies, Play, LinkedIn, B2B. That's the best intro you're going to get from Harry. Why don't you take?
Perfect. Summed it up absolutely perfectly.
Oh, good.
Nothing I need to add.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely perfect. You've summed it up just right. So we really focus on business development. Honestly, just for staffing and recruiting companies, we're exclusive to this market. We use a lot of AI systems like the likes of Clay, a lot of automation through the likes of SmartLead, Instantly, Dripify, all these automation tools, really just to help recruiters with their business development, allow them to take hands off of that and focus on steering the company in the right direction as a whole, rather than be stuck in the day-to-day trying to constantly win business, which I know can be an uphill battle, especially of recent times as well. It's been a bit more difficult. So that's effectively what we help with. And then, yeah, Sarah, if you're happy, I can take it away from here and go through the whole presentation.
You go for it. And how would you like, if people have got questions, do you want them to interrupt you or leave them at the end?
Yeah, just fire them at me.
Okay,
yeah, I want it to be a very open, collaborative session. So as I'm explaining things, if you have any questions, just jump in, just ask away. Don't feel like you have to wait for any specific time, but I can just get straight into it and show you what we're working with. So there'll be a few things that I show that will be more collaborative. Like there's a specific Clay table that I actually will share the link for. So if you want to try this out yourself, you can. And it's one that's been working really, really well for our clients at the moment. So I'm excited to show you that. But just to give you a bit of context with everything, I'm going to share my screen and hopefully this works nicely. Okay, so is my screen visible?
Yeah. Yep, I can see it.
And which screen have you got, sorry?
The right one. We haven't got your notes anymore.
You haven't got my notes anymore. Cool. All right. Oh, I thought I'd be a bit smoother there, but you got me.
Don't worry, we're well versed in the whole like how to do the presentation thing on Zoom. It's a tricky endeavor.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool. So yeah, I've got my notes. So hopefully there's no excuse for me to slip up. So we should be all good. But effectively, yeah, this is going to be mainly around email marketing and AI for business development, right? So there's some exact strategies and systems that I want to show you.
But ultimately, for 95% of recruiters, business development is the bottleneck to the growth of their business. They either don't have enough time to do it themselves, don't have the expertise to do it themselves, or don't have the budget to hire a full-time business development representative, plus all the commissions that come along with it, plus the national insurance, plus the taxes. It can get very expensive to hire a team. So we fully understand pain points seen, and effectively we have some solutions to help recruiters with that. We see a huge opportunity by using AI right now, and a lot of our systems are to do with AI. And I'm sure Sarah talks to you about AI as well, using ChatGPT for certain things and AI systems. We really have them as a sort of a cornerstone in our business development process. So I'll show you what that looks like and how we use it. But effectively, it's just going to save you time. It saves costs, give us higher leverage, because instead of just relying on manual, like sort of man hours input, we're able to use AI and automation, which is just higher leverage because it's more scalable, will increase margins and efficiency of the business, and it allows you to have a smaller team and tighter control, right? So AI is just basically like supercharging your efforts and making it much, much easier. And in my opinion, it's not here to take recruiters' jobs at all. I think every recruiter has a unique skill set that can't really be replicated. And AI is just here to enhance your powers. I definitely don't think AI is going to be taking any sort of recruitment or headhunting roles because it's too personal. But I think it can be a great tool that can help recruiters, especially with business development. So effectively, how you can use it today is obviously business development, candidate sourcing. You can also use it for your online presence and marketing. I'm sure Sarah talks about a few of these things, but the thing for us that we're going to be focused on today is the business development aspects of this, right? So we want to maximize the numbers with effectively minimal effort, making the whole process as efficient as physically possible. The way that we do this is basically getting our campaigns in front of more people. So I'll show you what it would typically look like from our infrastructure. We usually run email and LinkedIn outbound campaigns, right? So I'll walk you through this. It's a 4-step process effectively. It starts with building an infrastructure. So an infrastructure is basically replicating your own manual effort, right? So say, for example, you want to do business development, you go out and message, I don't know, say 50 of your connections on LinkedIn, write them a personalized message, or you do the same on email. You find companies that are hiring and you write them an email. The infrastructure is really the manual input that goes in. So actually physically the email is being sent, physically the LinkedIn message is being sent. Now, if we hook it up the right way and we sort of set up the systems the right way, you won't need to do this manually. There's automation that can do it for you, but with keeping the personalization, but with keeping the human touch, as I'm about to show you. But it all really starts from that infrastructure. Now, most recruiters that we work with as well are quite, I guess they're relatively small teams and they won't have a fully dialed in sales process in terms of scripting and things like that as well. If you do, that's great. But if not, step 2 is really split testing to figure out what works in your market. At the end of the day, especially with markets changing so often, you don't fully know what the best script is until you've tested at least, say, 3 to 5 different angles in the market. You've tested different ways of, reaching out to leads. You've tested different ways of scraping leads. You effectively need to do split testing for your messaging to figure out what the most effective strategy is. Now, of course, where sort of we can help as well is we have insight on markets. We have insight on directions and pivots that you can take. For example, we actually have a client who works with us still to this day. I think he's been working with us about 15 months now. But Chris, he's a US client and he was working in the ERP software space. And he was struggling when he first started working with us, but he had a very broad skill set. He could basically work on a lot of roles. And instead of just split testing his sort of scripts in the ERP consulting space, we said, look, Chris, you open to identifying new markets and seeing if there's opportunity out there as well, because we're working with other clients. We understand where the opportunities are. So we said to Chris, look, would you be open to this? He said yes. And then he actually landed a retainer with a client that had 30 positions for him to fill because of this change in market, right? Not every recruiter wants to change market. You don't want to switch and pivot too often, but it just sort of goes to show if you're split testing more, and because we're doing so much outreach for so many agencies, we understand where there is opportunity in markets, not just in the market in terms of industry, but geographically as well. And it's sort of good insight that we can acquire for our clients. Once we have a good market, a good message, we've got everything dialed in, then it really comes to response handling,
getting people to actually handle the responses from BD. It's one thing doing all the manual input in terms of the messages, then another thing hosting those conversations. Because as you probably know, you don't just send one message and someone books a call with you straight away. Oftentimes, that would be nice if that happens. It doesn't happen all the time. You often have to have a conversation. So we want someone to handle that. We have appointment setters that do that. And then obviously on the booking part, when they actually book the call, we effectively just want to show them our value, right? I'm sure this is what you do as you're pitching retained agreements. You just want to show them your value, explain to them why a retained contract is going to be more cost effective for them and a better solution for them than contingent, etc. It's basically just providing them with value once they've already booked the call. Now, I just wanted to go off this very quickly just because I wanted to share a little more about Chris. I have a big case study document here. Don't worry, I won't bore you with all of the details. But this was Chris actually. So it was, he had 20 positions at this time, but this went up to sort of 30 or so. I've also got a YouTube video with him explaining this. But what we've done with Chris is basically took his positive reply rate. So this is the amount of outreach that we're doing. We track all of the numbers, how much outreach we've done, how many people have replied, and how many of these replies have actually been positive. We took that number of positive replies from about 5% to, as you can see here, 41%, 35%, 56%. So almost half of the people that were getting back to us were interested in speaking about the opportunity because we had that market message fit. Took a while to get there, a bit of split testing and a new market. But when you achieve that, it's really, really nice to see, and you'll be getting leads through the door, which is what it's all about. So that was Chris. We also reduced his time to lead, and there's a few other case studies as well, so I can share this document with some other information if anyone's interested in seeing that a bit later on. But that sort of explains our process. So let me get back to it. Cool. So now hopefully that's enough of me talking and explaining, about the systems. I actually want to show you them so you can really see what they can do and how powerful they are. What we usually do is automate things that hopefully you'd be doing manually as a recruiter with your BD anyway. This could be finding open jobs, finding who's hiring, reaching out to them directly, maybe with the most placeable candidate, maybe not. But still, it's a good intent signal, I guess, if companies are hiring that they need recruitment services. Another one we like to do, and I've highlighted this in blue because I'm going to show you step by step how we do this, is finding employees who have left companies very, very recently, right? And this especially is good for sort of more senior leadership. It could be good for any role, honestly. But we see, like, especially, these heads of, the directors, managers, if they're leaving a company and we can identify this, we can reach out to that company before they've even posted the job. So before they've even got recruiters going after them, we can get in there even sooner and make it really, really personalized. So that's one I'm going to show you on Clay in just a minute. Obviously, with AI, you can also automate finding contact info, so we can find email addresses, LinkedIn profiles, and personal mobile numbers if you want to follow up with them on the phone, because I'm not like a few people in the sort of email marketing space. I do think cold calling is actually still, it has its very good purpose. I think it's important to get on the phone. So I think, yeah, 100%. I don't think it's ever really going to go out of fashion. In fact, I think now it's actually coming into fashion more again because less people are doing it and everyone's trying to do just the email stuff and the LinkedIn stuff. So AI can help you get, personal phone numbers as well with this Clay tool that I'm going to show you. And then, of course, having consistent follow-ups, messages, emails, calls, etc. All of this can be aided with the tools I'm about to show you and with artificial intelligence. But what I'd like to do, if that's okay, is just show you this process that we actually use to find people who have left their companies. So is this too small for you on my screen right now, or is that okay? Can you see this table?
I can because I can move my table, but is it all right for you, Tracy?
Yeah, I'm just going to make it bigger.
Yeah.
No problem. Just let me know if it's a little too small and I can continue to zoom in. Okay. So effectively what this is here is this looks like just a big spreadsheet. I'm throwing all this data at you, but I'm going to explain really what it is and how we use it to help our clients with very specific BD strategies. So effectively what we do here is this example was financial analysts who had left companies. So we could reach out to, I think it was the likes of controllers, CFOs, maybe SVPs of finance and whatnot. But effectively what we've done to start this workflow is we find contacts who are new to their current role. So on LinkedIn, you can see obviously the experience of someone from their profile, how many months they've been in that role. What we usually do is try and find people who have been in their role 1 to 2 months, right? Indicating that they've likely just left another one. So we find people who are brand new to their position, and then using this tool called Clay, which is a whole other beast of its own. It can do so much. It's so comprehensive. What we can do is enrich people's LinkedIn profiles automatically. So if I click on this here, right, I've enriched this profile, and it's given me everything. It's given me their summary. It's given me all the courses they've taken. It's given me their education, such as what, where they went to university, what bachelor's degree they've got. But importantly, it gives me their experiences. So these are all the jobs they've had previously listed on their LinkedIn account. So we can see that they've just started in September as a financial analyst. And before this, they were, so this one looks like it was a research intern, which I can show you how it works to filter out these profiles in a second. But basically, it will give us all a list of the experiences. So if they're brand new to a position, we can find the experience before that, and that will indicate the company that they've just left, right? And I could do the same for Andrew. We go to his experiences, and we see that he's just left this company as well, right? So this allows us to then find the company that they've just left and the position they were. So financial analyst, we can see this one was an economic research intern, so it didn't tick this profile here. If they're a financial analyst or a senior analyst, then it will tick to show that it's what we're going after, right? So they used to be a financial analyst, and then we can go ahead and find the person to reach out to. So in this case, it's Anthony. Let's see what he was. So he was a CFO, right? So maybe a little senior there, but nonetheless, we've got a CFO that we can reach out to. And we can create a very personalized outreach message at scale. So we can do this for hundreds or thousands of leads saying, hey, Anthony, noticed that Alexander, your old financial analyst, just left in September to work for this company. Just curious, would you be open to seeing any other financial analysts that could be a replacement before you start putting the job posts out and having to deal with all of the applicants, right? And because we've got this all in one table, we can put these variables into an email and pretty much automate the whole thing. Now, of course, it requires a lot of AI, like filtration and checking, which is why we've got these tick boxes to make sure everything's up to date. And you don't want to just, blast this out at really, really high volume, but it allows you to slowly automate the process and remove yourself from having to do all this manual research. And then even if you're checking, say, the last 10% of it, like checking this table, then it still removes loads and loads of time. So basically it allows you to do much more personalized outreach directly to people's email addresses. That's timely, it's relevant, and hopefully it's what they're looking for right now. So does that make sort of any sense? Have I made that too difficult to understand, or does that sort of paint a picture as to what Clay can do and these automation tools can do?
So you need Clay to do that then, basically?
Yes. To do it automated, yes, you need Clay to do that.
Okay.
What are you thinking, Mary? Are you good? Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry, how did you pull that up?
How did you
Sorry?
pull that up?
How did you pull that up on Clay?
So I have actually a table. I've created this into a template that I can share with you. It's got everything in there. I created this myself. And it will check everything. So it will find, all we need to do is add people who are new to their roles. And then it will go through and do everything. It will find their previous employer. It will then go and find who we want to reach out to at their previous company, find their email address, their business email address, and then we can do the outreach from there. But effectively, what we want to do is we want to import profiles, right? And we want to find, say, for example, we were looking for, once again, I'll just use the same example, financial analysts. I'll just type in financial analyst in here. Ooh. And then I can put in loads of stuff. I can put in keywords, etc. Stuff in their bio. If you're looking for a particular type of financial analyst or software developer, you can put a software language. You can go really sort of pinpointed with this. But what I would do is say, let's go for a minimum of 2 months in their current role. So they're brand new to their current role. So they've probably just made a move, which we'll verify again with AI. And then let's say for this example, once again, was US. So I'll just put in United States. And then we can find a list of these are all financial analysts who are 2 months or less new into their role. We've got 2.7 thousands of them. And then we can go ahead and find where they've just left, who the CFO or controller or SVP of finance, VP of finance is at that company. Reach out to them and say, look, I know Ken just left to work with this company. Would you be open to seeing any replacements that could fill his position if you haven't already? Sort of thing. So
if they have your template, then that's the only thing you need to put in.
Yeah, they can run it with the template. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool because I have played around with Clay, but I will say it can be quite daunting at the start, can't it? In terms of a blank page, and there's so much you can do. You don't really know where to start. So actually having a template like that, so you don't have to build it yourself. That's really.
It will definitely save some time.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to build all this out. So
I don't like to say that I lost days, but I definitely lost days on Clay.
Yeah.
But they were days well spent, I will say, because I love that sort of stuff. But if you don't have that time, like that's great that you can you've made a template.
Yeah. You can definitely learn a lot from playing around with it. There's plenty of things that really Clay can do. For example, if I go back and I show you, it all stems from creating new tables, right? So the way we do this is from the way I just shown you, obviously I use that template. We can also do ones where, say, for example, we want to find jobs, right? Say you wanted to go after job postings. You can do exactly the same. You can put in job titles. Let's say I wanted to reach out to or find all of the companies that are hiring for a financial analyst. I wanted a specific keyword in the job description, and you can put that in as well. Specific location, job type, or if it's full-time, part-time, internship, etc. You can filter by posted date as well. If you just want to reach out to people who posted it 90 days ago, for example, then you can do that. 60 days, whatever you want, and you'll just get a long list of companies. This is pulled from LinkedIn, this one, but you can also pull from different job boards. And obviously there's a lot of companies here that have, posted a job for a financial analyst. And then what you'd go through and do is filter these companies, remove all of the staffing and recruiting companies, vet the descriptions, make sure they're a fit, and then go ahead and start to use some of the stuff I used in the other table, which would be find the key decision maker. And then, in fact, what we usually do, it's a little bit more complex, but we pull the job description and use AI to help us create a personalized first line based on the actual job description of the role. So it makes sense to effectively the hiring manager or the decision maker that it's going out to. So Clay, really, I think the big value add here for the way we use it is just it saves time to do typically manual research. There's other things that are in beta right now, right? Such as you can monitor people who change jobs automatically. So you can be notified. You can monitor when people change job titles, so people get promoted and things like that. New hires at companies. Often this will be a good one. Say there's new C-suite involved in a company, they might want to bring a team in with them. That's one that we like to do. Say there's a new CFO, they might want to bring a new financial hire on as well. There's lots of things you can do. You can also build a list of companies. Say you already have your dream 100. You can keep an eye on them by seeing what rounds of maybe funding they've had, if they've been mentioned in the news, what live jobs they've got open. So effectively, it's crazy what it can do. And I could spend probably days talking about it. But it just really helps automate the business development process from what we've seen. So that's definitely a big value add that we see there. So it doesn't always have to be Clay though. If I go back to here, you can use other things as well. There's also other tools like Apify, which is a web scraper, or Instant Data Scraper, which can actually scrape websites like Indeed for free. So I'm gonna, once again, I'm gonna go not necessarily off topic. I'm gonna see if I can just play around with this at the moment, just to show you.
It's interesting that you've just put that up, because I literally, as you were showing that job stuff and the beta stuff, I wrote Apify, because I remember when I was you needed Apify, but do you need to do that anymore, or like does it still help?
You don't need to do it anymore. Clay hosts it. Like when I gave a similar talk to this about in I think it was March time, you did have to use Apify, but now you don't have to. So but Apify can, like, for example, say you want to scrape Indeed, Apify is probably better, but there's free alternatives that you can use, such as, I don't know, for Instant Data Scraper. Oh, my apologies, I don't have it. It's in a different Chrome window. I'll just open it up. But there's things that you can do to get around using Clay if you don't want to spend too much money on it, because it can be expensive, all these credits, such as, I'm just going to put basic filter in here. And we can see, say I wanted to find a list once again of all companies that are hiring, but on Indeed this time, I could use this free tool, which you can just download as a Chrome extension. And this basically pulls all data raw from a website, right? So if we wanted to pull all of the accounts and job openings, I'd just map this up so it can automatically run by itself. And then if I just press play on here, it will basically go through and just scrape all of the data straight off Indeed. And this is completely free. So you can see all the companies that are hiring for accountants, and then I'll obviously plug that into my outreach, maybe plug it into Clay. But you can do that completely for free. So there's other alternatives. You know, Clay can be expensive, but there can be other ways to do it. Virtual assistants obviously are relatively cheap, but I would say they're still expensive compared to the output of these tools. If you want to get a virtual assistant to scrape job boards for you, the amount of hours they put in, firstly in terms of time and the actual cost of those hours, it's usually more cost effective to just get a tool to do it for you. So that's typically what we recommend. Finding contact information without spending tons of money on the likes of Zoom Info. We use Clay to do this as well. So if I go back into the Clay table and I just go to here, you can find really any of the contact information you want on someone from LinkedIn. I know that in this example, say I wanted to reach out to Elliot, I've got his LinkedIn profile here, and then Clay allows us to find the email. Now, what Clay does is it's different to most databases because it has multiple databases attached. So what it will do is it will try one. If it doesn't find there, it will try the next one. If it doesn't find there, it will try the next one, and so on and so on. So you pretty much almost get 100% coverage of any email you want to find, because it will try all of these different databases and then give you the one that is the other databases have struggled to find. Now you can do the same with mobile numbers. So if I type in mobile, right, then I click on this, then it's given me a load of data providers that it's going to check to find these people's personal mobile numbers. So if I save and just run the first 10 rows here, I think I've hit a column limit. Let me just, the table's too big. My apologies. Let me just delete some of these. Maybe easier if I just create a new one, but bear with me. Okay, let me try again. And then mobile, I just want to show you live how this actually works in action. Cool. So you'll see the data, you'll see how it works live in action. So what it does is it's found, 50% of these numbers with the first provider. The ones that it hasn't found, then it goes on to the next one, and then so on and so on. So hopefully it should find at least sort of 80% of these personal mobile numbers. These are obviously for US contacts, and then you can go ahead and just call all from the same table with that personalized message that we've got. So yeah, I think we've got 80% coverage here, which for personal mobile numbers for say CFOs is pretty good. And then we can obviously get straight through to them with that mobile data. So it would work the same for email. You just press play. And if I wanted to press play for this whole table, I'll probably have all of the mobiles within a few minutes. So it's much, much quicker than doing it firstly manually and secondly with any other tool. This one just so much quicker. So that's why we like to use it to find sort of contact information. And then for sending actual messages and emails, there's two tools we recommend for this. We recommend SmartLead for email. This is what we use to send emails out. So you can basically take all that data that you've got from Clay and put it into SmartLead, which is the email sending tool. And it will email one by one each of those contacts with a personalized message that you can create inside there. And then for LinkedIn, I recommend Dripify, but you can also use HeyReach if you've got lots of accounts that you need to use. But effectively, it's all good getting this data but if you don't know how to use it, then it's sort of pointless. So we use SmartLead for the email and Dripify for the LinkedIn. Now, the way this works usually is you don't necessarily want to be sending too much outreach from your main email. Now, of course, if it's personalized and things like that, it's not really too much of an issue. But if you want to be scaling your business development, you may need to send a few hundred emails a day to really, sort of book your calendars up. And that would probably not be advisable from your main email address. So you'd want to start to create different sort of domains and then have a multi-inbox strategy where your risk effectively is spread across multiple inboxes that all hook back to your main one, all look basically redirect back to your main domain. So it all looks exactly the same to your prospect. And then it just allows you to do much more outreach and effectively book more sales calls because you're just doing significantly more outreach. So that's how we do that. And these tools allow us to do that pretty easily. So they help with that, which is nice. Of course, another thing is consistent follow-ups. Doing all of it manually can be pretty difficult and time consuming. So you sort of want to have something where you put it into an automation tool and it's just running and running and running. So you don't necessarily have to worry about it. Obviously, it depends how much you want to follow up with people. We only recommend sort of 2 to 3 touch points across every few weeks. We don't want to overdo it with people. It's just nice to know that if you've built your sequence, say you want to reach out to someone on Monday and then again on Thursday and then again next week, it will do this automatically instead of having to do it manually. And then here's the tools that I really recommend that people can use. So Clay, LeadRocks is another one which can help with mobiles. SmartLead is obviously the email sending tool. That instant data scraper is the free one that I've shown you how to scrape Indeed. And then for automations, things like Zapier and Go High Level, which really plug all of these tools together. But I won't go into too much detail of that right now. So I've already shown the system to find contacts who have left the company. So that's cool. And I think the other one was just finding open jobs. And I've covered that as well. So yeah, it's obviously very difficult to do this all sort of yourself. It costs quite a lot of money, as we learned. So what we do for our clients is we just run everything absolutely for them. So that's the little pitch at the end. I don't want to spend too much time there because I want to focus on hopefully giving you more value. But that's effectively what we do is we just manage all of this for our clients so they don't have to do it themselves. So that's pretty much it in terms of showing you the tools, the systems, the processes. I would love to welcome any questions. If you have any, please fire away. I'll do my best to answer them. But hopefully it's been somewhat insightful and hopefully that Clay table will be useful as well if you want to try this out yourself.
Thank you for that, Harry. Yeah, it was very insightful, really good to see how you use Clay, and I'm glad you mentioned at the end if people don't want to do that themselves, but they can work with you guys on it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And where can they, just before we get into the questions and stuff, where can they reach you if they want to talk more?
Yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best place.
Okay.
I'll just put my LinkedIn profile URL in the chat at the moment. Right. But LinkedIn is probably going to be the best one.
Amazing.
Just the easiest. So, one moment. Okay, so I've just put that in the Zoom chat.
Right. I'll
There,
make sure
my
that we,
LinkedIn
when
profile.
we, because obviously this is being recorded as well, I'll make sure that this is with the collab recording as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, Tracy, Mary, any questions?
No, I had a question, but you answered it as you were going.
You've got a question
Excellent.
or what?
I had a question. I was going to say, like, how do you send the emails? Do you have to give access to like our Outlook? But then you said that you use Smartly or the others. So
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty much all done with third-party tools that would integrate. You just connect your account to one of these third-party tools. So I'm not sure if you used something like Dripify before, but effectively the outreach isn't done from your actual account, like need to be in your account, but it's behind that wall of a third-party software, which helps us manage everything at a higher level, basically. So we wouldn't need to do anything directly. It would be through the tools that we're using. Yeah.
And what about one of the things that we struggle with Dripify sometimes is like the limits of stuff. Have you found like you can push the limits of Dripify, or do you make sure that you stay within them?
I think it very much depends on the warmth of the profile. Now, what I mean by that is we've tested things with accounts that have got, say, 30 to 50,000 followers, and they can get away with a lot more than someone who's got 200 or 300 connections. So as you're looking to do high scale stuff or stuff on a mass scale on LinkedIn, you just need to have a really, really warmed up profile. Make sure it's active. There's messages flowing in and out. There's commenting on people's profiles. You're posting, and it just looks sort of healthy, because LinkedIn will pick up if, say, you've just created an account or you barely use it, and then you're doing mass scale outreach. It can be difficult. So we tend to, with LinkedIn automation running for our clients, stay quite below the limits, and we use email to scale things. So we use LinkedIn to validate messages, LinkedIn to build the network, of course, and do things. It will book a good amount of calls, but you really want to get more volume in there, then I would recommend email to be the one to do that, as opposed to LinkedIn, because it's just not worth the risk, I don't think.
Yeah.
Especially if you're using it for sourcing day to day. It's like, can't afford to have your LinkedIn account go down.
I know, and I've found like it depends where people are based. So I feel like with the UK, we seem to get away with stuff a bit more, but then we've got folks in Australia, and you do one thing wrong there, and they
really,
they ban your account. Like one of the things with Dripify, like I've never had this problem, touch wood, but I've been able to have Dripify going, but also be in my profile. Whereas Australia, like the members that we've heard, they're like, no, like if Dripify is going on, they need to be not in their account. Which obviously there's ways around that because of the scheduling, which is good. But, yeah, you're right. You don't want to be
got to tread carefully with your
boundaries
profile.
because it's a big asset, and no one wants to have LinkedIn as their enemy.
Exactly. No, you definitely don't. You definitely don't. So I think with LinkedIn, you can technically push the limits, but I don't really think it's worth it. I think it's worth just doing it at a reasonable volume that you can get away with. And then if you really want to push things, email will be the place to do that. If you lose an email account that you've created that's like a backup one, you can literally get one set up and up and running within 12 hours again. So it's not a big deal. So we play around with email a bit more, but LinkedIn you want to keep very safe, I'd say. Yeah.
One of the questions I had was, obviously we've talked about a few different tools there. If members decided actually, have you just shared that table? That's great.
Yeah.
If members decided actually they have a play around and they understand Clay to a point, but they want to outsource it, do they still need Clay? What tools do they need for you to be able to partner with?
Yeah, so we're a fully managed service. We don't require our clients to have any of the tools that we use. We manage it all in-house internally, so it wouldn't be required. Sometimes they may favor that, to have their own Clay account, because they might want to do stuff themselves, and that's fine. We can accommodate that, but technically speaking, our clients don't need anything. We would just pretty much manage all the tools, all the softwares for them. And if something like mobile data is needed, then we can just help with that. We can send it from our Clay account. So we have the luxury, I suppose, of running this for quite a few companies. So we are able to get economies of scale with the likes of Clay and whatnot. So it makes more sense for everyone involved when we just do it for ours, because Clay can get pretty expensive. So yeah, we pretty much just do it all for our clients.
Amazing. Yeah, because it can be pretty pricey, Clay, can't it? Like I found when you're testing stuff as well, in that testing phase, you can it gives you some free credits to start with, but you quickly run out of those. So that's good
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Amazing.
And cost, Harry, what are we talking about cost-wise then?
For our service or
Yeah.
for Clay, sorry? For
Yeah,
our service,
so you're bringing it all in. If you what you're saying is you bring all these tools to the table, right?
Yeah. And we manage everything, and our typical package is we would do around 5,000 to 10,000 bits of outreach per month or contact collection, right? So it wouldn't be necessarily all emails, but it'll be reaching out to, say, a few thousand every single month, should your total addressable market allow. And for the whole price, so the whole cost is we do £2,200 per month, and we recommend a minimum of 3 months to see the best return from that. That's £2,200 per month.
And I guess with the total addressable market, which we do talk about in module 1 of the program, to make sure that you're working with a TAM that is big enough for you. I guess if they had a call with you and actually it was like super niche, and you felt like we'd have to diversify, we'd have to do something, you'd advise at that point.
Yeah, I would. We do have clients. We've got some executive search clients in the States that have a very small TAM, and it just means we have to adjust the approach slightly. It just leans on, you have a trade-off, right? As we do more outreach, it slowly becomes slightly more generalized. If you have a very small TAM and you've only got a list of, say, 500 people, it needs to be extremely personalized. So the effort remains the same. You just focus on the approach. However, that being said, we would probably advise we would at least advise markets where we're seeing traction, like the example of Chris from CZ Recruit that I shown, just to really open things up. The more shots you have at the dartboard, I guess, the more chance you're going to hit bullseye, right? You're going to have more success. But it's not fundamentally required, because we do have some executive search clients that have a small TAM. But we would at least give the recommendation to maybe look at markets where you can do a bit more outreach, just to improve the chances of success.
Sorry, can I ask a question? What's been the best results you've seen?
Best results in terms of
So
cash
say you've had
collected,
to sign up for
ROI.
3 months. What have you seen in terms of like their return on investment?
So the best return on investment we've had, probably in the region of 15x. Obviously, with recruitment, your contracts are pretty large for the most part. So we've had clients fill 6 job orders, within 90 days, which is good, because it usually takes, say, 3 to 4 weeks to get the whole system up and running, split testing, dialing in. I would, 15x ROI is an anomaly, but it's one of the best. On average, it's probably going to be between 3 to 5x return on investment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more questions or anything else that you want to mention, Harry? Oh, I've just had a coffee.
Very nice. I'm happy to answer any more questions if you have any. Otherwise, I'm happy to connect on LinkedIn. And then if there's anything else you want to see from me, or you're curious, once again, rightly so, about what we can provide, I've got case studies and things and client interviews on my YouTube. I'm happy to share links to those. happy for you to speak with people you've worked with previously. Yeah, just happy to really be transparent with it and let you know what we can do for you if it is of interest. So happy to connect, happy to answer any questions, and thank you for listening to the presentation today.
Thanks, Harry. It
My
was
pleasure.
yeah, really insightful. Like the way that you managed to convey clay as like relatively easy to get up and running is great, because I do understand the challenge, but that table is going to really help people shortcut their learning. So thank you so much for that. And as I say, like we are recording. This will be in the portal, and I'm also I've got a gap in my outreach module, which I've been wanting to do a video on clay for ages, but you've basically just done me a job there. So thank you so much.
Glad I could help out.
That'll be in there, and I guess like you'll just make sure if people book a call and they mention Retrain Search that they'll be looked after.
Definitely.
Yeah.
If anyone books a call with Retrain Search in the notes or things like that, don't worry, I won't have my my sales guy take it. I'll take it myself, and we can speak about things. So yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay, amazing. Well, unless anyone else has got any questions, Mary, I've seen your messages. I will get back to you.
Yeah, sorry.
No need to apologise. I love it. No, thank you for seeing that. Mary was the first person to get access to the vault.
Oh wow!
we've got a module in the course which basically people have to engage and share and comment and like people's posts to be able to get access. It's got all of our juiciest bits of content in there. Tracy, you're going to get there slowly, aren't you? You're going to get there.
I will get there eventually.
You will get there. To be fair, like it's a shame we didn't do Search Foundations because you would have got there. But yeah, we're getting there. But yes, I'll get back to your questions, Mary. But thank you so much for highlighting that there was things in there that I needed to put in. Cool. Okay. Well, lovely to have you on, Harry. And I
really appreciate it.
That we share your contact details as well. And thank you so much for sharing that clay template.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully it wasn't too much of a headache to endure the clay stuff. Mary and Tracy, hopefully that was valuable. But if you have any questions, just reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll be happy to help.
Thanks ever so much.
Amazing.
Have a great day.
Speak to you soon.
Yeah, have a great day. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
If you run a staffing and recruiting agency, you've probably come across clay. However, the one thing probably stopping you is how expensive it is to run. Look, I'm not at the end of the month just yet and I've already run out of credits. So before I go ahead and upload more credits into my account, I wanted to show you, if you're a staffing and recruiting company, that you don't actually need a ton of credits to use clay effectively. I'm going to walk you through step by step how I would actually launch a campaign using 0 credits. Okay, so let's get into this. This should hopefully save you a lot of money. So what you're going to want to do is go to a new table. What we're going to do here is search for companies that are hiring for a specific role right now. So what you want to do is open a new table and go to find jobs. Right here, you just want to put in the type of role that you want to recruit for. Let's say, for example, it's a controller. Let's say we want to do the United States. Just pick the US. What you want to do here is toggle on has a recruiter. So this means it has a hiring manager or someone attached to the job that's actually posted the job, so we can reach out to them directly. It's just way easier. If we don't want to use any credits, then we can do this, right? If you do want to use credits, then you can do it in a more effective way, but this is for 0 credits, completely free, and you'll still see results like this. So I'm just going to preview jobs here. Let's see how many controller jobs there are in the US with a hiring manager attached to the LinkedIn job. Now the benefit of this is, of course, the person who's posted the job will know about it, right? You won't be reaching out to people saying, oh, I don't know about this job, blah, 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 this and that. You go straight to the source. So you can see I've got 1.6K basically jobs open here. So I'm going to put this into a new table, continue for free, right? So everything so far is completely free, 0 credits used. What you want to do is just wait for this to update. So we have all of the rows here, and then we can go and start filtering down this list and getting into the good stuff that I'll show you in just a second. So it looks like all of them have been uploaded now. First thing we want to do is get rid of all the duplicates. So there'll be tons of duplicates in here. You can see there's 700, right? 701. So get rid of all these duplicates. We've got 890 companies posting for a job. Then what you want to do is go and use a filter to remove all the staffing and recruiting companies. Okay, so this will require some manual intervention, once again, because this is using 0 credits, not costing you anything. It will be slightly more manual, but you can still automate a ton of it. So if you go to filter this column and go for company name, does not contain any of, and then you can put in keywords here, like search, recruit, I think you need to enter after, so yeah, there we go, recruit, staff, hire, job, career. Right, you just want to think of all like keywords that you can exclude from these companies. That's already removed 130 companies from this list. Obviously, you need to go through and remove companies like Robert Half, right? And you can just click that and click delete. If I just click here. So once again, require a little bit of manual intervention, but let's just assume that's pretty safe for now. Then what you'd want to do is, you notice some of these job titles aren't quite right. Usually you would have to use AI to do this, and you'd use an AI credit, but I found a way to get around it using Clay. So what you want to do is insert a column to the right, and we're just going to put a normal text column, okay? And we're going to go into here, click edit, and leave it as text, and click this little settings icon, and click formula. So we're going to use AI to help us create a formula that's actually not using any credits to clean up this list. So if I say clean the job title to just include. Basically what I want to do is, you see where some job openings had like controller, financial, blah, 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 loads of different things in there. We want to remove that, right? And once again, typically this would actually be done using AI, using a credit, but you can do this without using a credit. I'm going to show you how. Okay, it's perfect. So I've done this now. I've got it all in lowercase as well, just so it flows better in the email and looks like I've actually written it. But I basically said clean the job title to just include the actual job, all in lowercase, removing all excess words and numbers. So you can see this one here was Senior Project Controller 177559, and it's got Senior Project Controller here. So this is not using any credits, and it's actually working, so that's awesome. So done that here, boom, and it looks all good for all of those. Food beverage controller, right? Awesome, cool. Now I want to do the same with location. So because for example, if I just use this as a variable, Warwick, RI, then it doesn't look real in an email, and people will pick up on that. So what we want to do is go to insert a column to the right and just have text. Then I can edit this column and go to settings again. Then I want to create a formula and use AI to do this. So I'll say just return the city from this column, and then I just put in the column. So I say just return the city from this column, and then put in location. Obviously some say United States, you can see here, right? So say if column says United States, just return the US. Okay, once again, to make it once again, this is just to actually make it make sense. Like if you say, hey, saw you had a controller job opening in the United States, that doesn't make any sense. If we say the US, doesn't sound as personalized, but we're working with the best of what we've got here. So output is correct, save. Once again, using 0 credits. So this is a little cheat code, should save you tons of time. And you can see, look, now we can actually drop this into like the email. So we can use these as variables. I'll just hide the original ones. So now we can say to the person, and the person is here, add as column. So you've got the recruiter name attached. And then once again, you guessed it, first thing we can do is add another column to just get their first name without even needing to use credits for AI. So go to edit column, click on the formula, use AI, just return first name. Okay. And then include their recruiter name, boom, generate formula. And we've got the first name. That looks correct to me. Awesome. So hide this. And then the only other thing we need is actually to be able to reach out to them on LinkedIn or email. The only credit it's going to cost you here is if you want to get their email address, but I've done it so you can get their LinkedIn. So if you want to use an automation, LinkedIn automation, then you can do that. If you want to find that email address, you can either export this and put it into a platform like LeadRocks, for example, that pulls from their LinkedIn URL and do it cheaper. But I would recommend at least getting their email from here, which will cost you, you know, maybe 700 credits or so for this campaign, which would be well worth it. So we've got their first name, we've got the job that's opened in a good email format, we've got the location, and if we want to go an extra mile and personalize it even further without using any credits, then we can say how many days ago the job was posted, right? So if I go to text again, create another column, go to edit column, press settings, go on formula, use AI, and I say return how many days ago this was, and then I put in the posted on, so it will tell me literally as of today how many days ago this job was posted, and I can use that once again as a variable in the email. So say I get the email address from here, I can export this CSV and I can say, hey Eric, notice you had a job opening for a controller in Warwick, saw it was posted 9 days ago, just wondered, are you still looking for someone? And because you're using all of these touch points, it looks more personalized rather than just a generic blast email. And because I physically don't have any credits in my account, I thought this would be a perfect time to do it, to show you that it cost me 0 credits. So if you want to find the email, of course, that will either cost you another database, such as Apollo or LeadRocks or any one of these ones where you can easily get email address from the LinkedIn profile, or you can just pull it from here. But nonetheless, that's literally how you get great data as a staffing and recruiting company on Clay for free. So there you go. Hope it helps.
Hey everyone, I've got Chris here, Chris from CZ Recruit. It's been one of our clients for a while now. I'm not sure exactly how long it's been. I don't know if you know Chris exactly.
I think we're going on 6 months, maybe? Is it
6 months? Yeah,
I think it's been about 6 months. Yeah,
about 6 months. So yeah, today we're really just going to talk about the experience, what you felt starting with us, how it's been, and where you're at now, and any potential wins we've had, and things like that. So before we get started into all of that, I want to take it sort of back to the beginning when we first got started. But I'm just curious, before you actually got started with us, if you had tried anything like lead gen type and lead gen related in the past, and what your experience was with anything like that.
yeah, absolutely. So I mean, we tried a variety of strategies. You know, nothing like a third party service. So I was very skeptical of those types of services. Like, you know, to be honest, like the type of service that you provide, there are so many people trying to copy this nowadays that it can be inundating how many people you get messages from, just, you know, because people know recruiting firms are struggling, and this is a really tough market for employment and recruiting in general, which you know, is taking its toll for sure on us and everybody else. But to answer your question, I tried various you know, like prospecting tools. I tried, like, you know, I've used Zoom Info in the past. I've used Apollo. I've used Lucia. I've used all kinds of like database tools, but never actually an external service. So we were sort of just trying to bootstrap it ourselves in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I completely agree. There's a lot of competition out there. There's a lot of people, you know, saying they do exactly the same things on the market, and I think that usually, you know, builds a lot of distrust. So this might be a difficult question, but what would you say, like, your actual confidence was with us on a scale of 1 to 10 when you actually started? I imagine it would probably be pretty low for most people. But
Yeah.
what would you say your confidence actually was? Would you say pretty low?
I was definitely skeptical. I think what helped is you guys were, as you mentioned, a referral to us from, you know, Dom, who I obviously, you know, have a good relationship with and trusted him. But I can say if it weren't for Dom's referral, like, I would have been very, very skeptical, like call it maybe a 2 out of 10, just because, again, there's so many, like, there's like dime a dozen in terms of like how many like lead gen or like booking services there are out there. So you know, I'm usually like I'm the kind of person who errs on the side of caution with that, and it's like, if it's too good to, or if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is, right? So
sure.
So yeah, definitely skeptical about it.
Yeah, no, it's good perspective to hear for sure.
Yeah.
I suppose the question would be, how does it how's everything been now, sort of 6 months in? Does that align with your expectations? How do you view it now?
Yeah, it definitely aligns with my expectations, if not supersedes them. So I, or surpasses them rather. Nothing is overnight, right? So I think I did not really realize how much of like a true partnership and growth experience this was going to be, rather than just like my expectations were like, hey, this is just going to be like a plug and play, simple lead gen equation where we just pop ourselves in and we get boom business right off the bat. And that I can say is like, that's not the case. And if anybody's looking for like a silver bullet, like that doesn't really exist. You have to be willing to put the work in and the time. And I think that's what I've appreciated about our partnership is that, we have tried a lot of different strategies. Not to say your guys' approach is scattered in any way. Like you guys do have a very definitive and well laid out, path of how you acquire leads. It is very systematic, and that's great. So you have confidence in like a tried and true approach. But you got to try different angles, right? Because that, everybody's trying to get that little bit of an edge. So I think it definitely surpasses my expectations in the fact that it has been a lot of really solid conversations and strategic back end work between our firm and yours. And it's, I think that's been really positive.
Yeah, amazing. No, that's fantastic to hear. And then in terms of like some of the stuff you're working on now, I know that we've had a few contracts and a few projects that you're working on. What's sort of been the biggest win you think from the portal and from the campaigns we've been running?
Yeah, absolutely. I would call it I'll call it a pre-retained engagement, which if anybody in recruiting is listening, they know retainer is like, music to their ears. That's the golden ticket. We all want a retained relationship. But we've been engaged with one company who was really impressed with our message and our strategy. It was just you getting it out there to enough people. And I think, we've sort of not to shift topic too much, but like we've sort of shifted our strategy in the types of roles we're going after because we have to kind of adapt or die, right? And that's what we've done. So we've taken an approach of working in an industry that we normally wouldn't. Yeah, because we wound up shifting to an industry that we would normally never have really looked at or explored. Still within our capabilities, but like I was a little hesitant, and you guys kind of helped us run like a test scenario or a test market where we just did a little bit of a control, and we wound up seeing a really good response to things, and we wound up booking a deal that is sort of like I said before, a pre-retainer. So we're on a trial basis right now for a contingency placements that where they gave us about 6 or 7 positions with the potential for that to blow up into probably about 25 to 30 positions as they grow over the next year. This is a firm that's got a lot of investment behind them, and they're buying up smaller brands and growing, quite aggressively. And I think we're honestly really impressing them right now in the beginning. So I'm very confident that this is going to turn into a very lucrative retained agreement, which is for this market really, really good. So
absolutely. Yeah, you've done a good job there. It just shows as well, like the lead gen can be good at starting the conversation, but of course it's like out to your company. It's all the things you do, the nuances of your service and why how you're different and all the things to do with your service that actually make that, really happen and turn that into the big deal. And that's a testament to you guys and your hard work, which shouldn't be overlooked. And yeah, I think that's, that really helps as well, working with really, really good clients. It helps you win bigger deals in the long run. Like us working with you, we know because your service is like exceptional. You guys really, really, work hard at what you do and you're exceptional at what you do. It makes it much easier to close the big deals as well. So that's super awesome to hear. But yeah, I thought it'd be good to just go over anything that particularly like stood out to you or anything you weren't quite expecting from like the campaigns or systems we've been running. If there's anything in particular.
Well, I would say the thing I wasn't expecting was to learn as much as I am. There are new systems. there are new approaches, there's new databases, there's new software, like, and your team is very open about showing you that process because you kind of take the approach of wanting your client to understand like how this works and what you're doing, which I love because there's no smoke and mirrors. There's no shady back end. Like this is all legitimate, above board, like really solid lead gen strategies that, to be completely honest, my team could probably learn all of this and go off in the future and like duplicate some of these efforts, but I don't want to, right? Because that's like a huge time sink. And that's, it's not like just a transaction where we're paying for leads. We're paying for like a strategic partnership and building that together. So like the advantages of keeping you guys on completely outweigh the like the cost savings of us trying to duplicate this. But again, I got to learn all of this and like how it's working, which is like that's relatively unheard of, right? Like a magician usually doesn't show how the tricks are done. So but I think it's really, that has been the biggest surprise for me. Outside of the obvious of again shifting industries completely of where we would normally be. But it keeps us on our toes. It keeps my team learning and growing and kind of just shifting the way that we're doing things, which is, as you know more than anybody, adapting in this economy is so crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that comes down to like the campaigns as well. Testing is so important because we'll find something that works really, really well. And it's up to obviously a great company like yours to be able to adapt, be flexible and capitalize on the opportunity. So that obviously comes into it as well. Flexibility is a really big advantage, allows us to test more, allows you to test more angles. But yeah, it's good to hear that you've been, I know you've started using some tools like Clay and stuff. Your team's pretty good on that. So
just
it's
to
really
poke
cool
around and just learn a little bit. My guys were eager to get in there and just say, hey, like this looks like a cool tool anyway. Like I just want to, but it's cool because now we can kind of almost work in tandem with your team, which is fun. So I guess I'll turn the question around. Like, what did you not expect or expect about it? Like, where were your expectations about working with a small? I mean, like when we first started, I was a single person company, so what that was probably a little overwhelming.
Yeah, to be honest, I think always, when we work with very like, small or solo preneurs and solo recruiters, it's more. I think for us that's why like the testing is really, really important as well. Because I think sometimes like really big companies, they're very fixated and they're like, they won't shift because effectively they can't. They've got all of that training, they've got the SOPs in place, they've got the way of doing things, but it allows us to be more flexible. And I think that's why something that was our mindset shift for us was we can be more flexible. Usually we feel like we're quite fixated on like, this is our specific industry, this is our ICP, just go after them, go get them. But what was good for us was to be able to actually see based off the market and based off where we're seeing opportunities elsewhere, we can like reflect that for your campaigns as well and be more flexible with it and then start to grow in the places where there's the most opportunity. So I wasn't quite expecting that, to start. I think I thought it'd be quite like binary, black and white, focus on one thing, we just do the same for that. But the advantage of working with, smaller companies and solopreneurs and these sorts of things is you are more flexible and you're more agile to capitalize on new opportunities. So you play to the advantages. So I say that's one thing that we didn't quite expect that we enjoy. We like being able to test things. We like being able to try new things, try new strategies, try new approaches. And it's always good when we see it starts going the right direction, and pay off. So
yeah. And to your guys' credit, like we are not the easiest clients when it comes to testing and adapting and like, not saying we're not flexible, but like I am, I'm almost too stubborn in like my processes and like I'm very adherent to my values of like honesty and I try not to employ the strategies that a lot of like these larger firms you were talking about do. Like I'm not gonna NPC people who I've never spoken to and pretend like they're looking for a job just to try to get a foot in the door. And I'm not gonna, pretend I can staff in an industry that I have absolutely no experience in, and like, I think that was a difficult hurdle for both of us because we're trying to figure out like, hey, so where are your niche, areas of expertise or like, what strengths and things can we play off of? You know, and it, while it was difficult, I think we finally like were able to fine tune that you know, strategy, and I think it's been working really well, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we're in a good spot now where we've got the industry that's working really well. We're scaling that up, and you're getting some opportunities there. So that's really awesome. What sort of advice would you have for someone maybe in the same position you were a few months ago or 6 months ago, where you're very skeptical about this? You're looking for someone that can actually be a trusted partner rather than just a plug and play. What advice would you give to someone who's looking for a service like this?
The first thing I would say is refine your own brand and message, because you need to have a definitive idea of where you want your brand to go and grow. If you don't have that, it's going to make the process difficult. So you need to do your own homework and really dig in first at how you want your image to be put out there. And then the second is just do it. Like, just dive in. You know, like Harry, I know you stand behind your services, and you really take a lot of pride in what you do. So it is a give and take. There is trust there, but you know, it's to be able to speak directly with your team, have an interaction like this. It's not somebody just hiding behind a database in a computer, right? So my advice is just go for it. You know, if you don't like it, it's all right. Hey, you tried it out, but I really, you've got to commit. You know, you've got to go full in and treat it like a partnership, but it absolutely is worth it in the end.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So appreciate your time with these questions, Chris. Thank you for being an amazing client of ours.
My pleasure. Well, I appreciate everything you guys have done for us. So let's keep going, man.
This is how we doubled our clients' revenue in just 90 days from working with us. This is an interview that we done with our client using our lead generation services for their recruitment company. And I think the results speak for themselves. We managed to double their revenue in just 90 days, gain them 4 more clients, and add $55,000 worth of revenue to their bottom line in 90 days. Hope you enjoy this interview, but let's get straight into it. Hey, we've got Preston here. This is one of our clients. I believe Preston has been one of our clients for about 10 or 11 weeks. Is that right? Almost, yeah, that's 3 months.
Yeah, that sounds right. Right, a little over 3 months is about how long we've been working together.
Perfect, awesome. So, Preston, if you could give an introduction to yourself, who you are and what your business does.
Sure. Yeah, I am. My name is Preston Doyle. I'm the owner and managing director of Doyle Recruiting, and we help our clients in identifying top talent and filling their hard to fill roles in the engineering and IT space. And we've actually expanded into the accounting space here recently. So we have tools and the skill set to identify the right people for our clients' job openings. So,
absolutely, that's awesome. So, before you started working with us, what sort of position were you in, and position you were in with the business?
So, before I started working with Harry, I was at the beginning of each week, I was kind of in a rut and stuck in a place where I didn't know where my next job order was coming in. I didn't know if it would come that week or in the next few weeks. And I was having a hard time identifying new leads and finding a way to contact potential leads as well. So, you know, it was really living job order to job order. And I was really taking basically any kind of job order I could get. But that all has changed since I started working with Harry. So
amazing. So what would you say your biggest challenge was before you started working with us?
I would say my biggest challenge was getting potential clients on the phone, and doing initial outreach to them as well, just getting in touch with them and communicating to them what our services are and how we can help their team. But yeah, I would say probably getting contact information and getting in touch with the right people to present our business proposal to them.
Absolutely. And what were the numbers associated with the business before in terms of either revenue or number of clients?
Yeah, revenue was probably right at, maybe 60,000. It wasn't too much. The clients that we were working with, it's between 2 or 3. So it was very slow. I didn't know when the next client was coming in, so it was quite stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what position are we in now, sort of 3 months down the line since we started working?
So 3 months in, I believe we have 4 new clients, and we've made placements with we've made 2 placements with one of the clients, and we have, I think, 4 or 5 other job orders with the other clients. So it's nice to have clients kind of lined up and job orders coming in that I would not have had before, and I didn't have a way to contact those people. So I'm in a much better position now, and we're supporting more clients and a larger territory as well, which is nice, because I try to focus more regionally. But since working with Harry, he's put me in contact with potential clients outside my territory, which is good. It's good to expand your reach. So in a much better spot than we were before, that's for sure.
Amazing. What would you say some of the biggest wins from our campaigns have been? Is there anything that stands out?
Yeah, biggest wins, definitely job orders and new clients is up there, and placements even, but also just kind of building a brand on LinkedIn has been huge for me. We're doing automated LinkedIn posts, and I'm getting a lot of activity and impressions on those, and I'm seeing people in person that have liked or have seen those posts, and they've made comments about them to me, about seeing them and how it looks, and the kind of the perception that we put off. And it makes you seem like a legit business. So it's exciting, and it's nice to see others taking notice in it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. So 3 months previously, before we started working together, you say your revenue was about 60,000. Are you able to say what it is roughly at the moment?
I think it's now currently probably at 110, 115. So
Awesome.
it's almost doubled in that time.
Amazing. That's great to hear. Hopefully we double it again in another 3 months.
That's right. That's right.
That'd be awesome. So, and your number of clients has gone from about 2 or 3 to how many are you working with at the moment?
Currently, I think it's 5 clients that we're supporting directly right now.
Perfect. That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much for that. And who would you sort of recommend our services to, if anyone?
Sure. I mean, really any recruiting agency, I think the services could help, but solo entrepreneurs in this space that are having a hard time finding new clients or kind of what to do next. If you don't have enough job orders coming in, when you work with Harry, you can depend on him, and he will, he's running his tools and his campaigns, and you don't have to worry about it too much. It's doing it automatically, and you're getting messages in, and anytime someone that is interested, he notifies you and kind of lets you take it over from there and run the sales pitch. So like I said, really any solo entrepreneurs in this space, this Harry services would be a huge benefit to.
Amazing. That's great to hear. And just out of curiosity, what would you say our unique selling point is, if you think we have one, where we differ from other sort of marketing or lead generation agencies?
Sure. Harry is available all the time. Anytime you have any questions or if you want to make changes to the kind of campaigns that you're running, that's a huge selling point. You know, I've used services in the past where, you know, they say this is how we do A, B, and C. But Harry is very flexible and wants to hear feedback on what I believe is working and what we think we could be doing better. And also, you know, the kind of tools that he uses, he does extensive research on, you know, what's working and what's not working. And if he believes there's a better tool out there that we should be using, I trust him fully and we make the change. And, you know, that's happened a few times with the email marketing campaign that we've been doing. And he said, we're going to start using this one. And right away, you can tell that it makes a big difference. So I fully believe he knows the best tools to use to you know, run these kind of campaigns that we're doing, and it's working. So I think that's the selling point that Harry has to offer is his flexibility and his expertise in this space as well.
Amazing. Perfect. I think that wraps it up. Thank you so much for your time and that explanation, Preston. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully, yeah, we can continue to double every 3 months, even more, and keep pushing forward.
That sounds awesome. I appreciate it, Harry.
Awesome. My pleasure. Thanks, Preston.
Yeah.
Make sure to smash that subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm.